All right, good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, February 16th, 2017. This is the Hingham Historic District's Commission meeting. Thank you all for coming tonight. We have a full agenda with a number of applications. First item of business is an informal discussion on 6 Station Street, which is the Settle Glass property building. And we have, I believe Greg Murphy is here. How you doing, Greg? Welcome. To talk about the project, and again, this is informal, but I think you just want to get present what you'd like to do here and get a read from the commission on some of our thoughts. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You can sit up here if you'd like, or you can use the visual aids if you'd like to do that. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Bill, do you want
Preferably,
to sit over there?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm talking. Yeah, you gotta be able to see this.
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
Would you like us to
To
move
move
that
that.
closer, or do you want to keep it back here?
So I can see, and we also have a handout that we can follow along with. I don't know if, as far as the video part of it, if that's optimum.
Okay, other side, I guess, Jerry. Sorry, Bill, but my rules, when it comes
Absolutely.
to,
Camera always.
this one is, with,
Like I said, I'm Greg Murphy, this is Jerry Sealand, Rockland Sealand, this is Dan Russell. Dan lives it's in Green Court.
Eldridge Court.
Elbridge Court, I live in Middle Street, we're both lifelong Hingham residents. We have an agreement to purchase the Settles Glass property, as you know, 6 Station Street. So right now, the property is 10,600 square feet. And what we have looked at umpteen scenarios of what we could develop there. And we keep coming back to this type of project, which seems to pass the formula, and that would be at grade level. This is North Street, we would have 3, as the drawings indicate, we would have 3 retail stores on North Street, accessible from North Street. We would have access down here off Station Street to an underground parking garage, which would have enough parking spots to support our, right now, we're looking at 8 2-bedroom condominiums, so 16 bedrooms. And the condominiums would be on the 2nd and 3rd floor. So we have plenty of parking on site to support our residential component. The parking for the retail would be supported by the street in Station Street. The current owners of the property, who we have the agreement with, pursued the beer garden, and they had a whole parking formula, but this parking's not an issue here, I guess. But the property, the project, to work, we need to maximize the development, build as large a building as possible over the entire footprint. And that's where we are. And what we're trying to gain is a sense of the receptiveness to the project before we continue to expend money engineering, because by the time we get to the next board, really our civil drawings and everything, we will be 100% in those drawings. Significant expense if we're gonna run into, we would just wanna try to get a sense of what you think, if we're on the right page. Response seems to be overwhelmingly positive, but of course people always tell you what you wanna hear.
Some people do.
Some people they're not the ones with anything at risk. So that's kind of where we are, and Jerry has some facts and figures on the makeup of the building and what architects do. You wouldn't know.
So, thank you, Greg. Jerry Sealand,
Also a Hingham resident, not lifelong, it seems like forever, but I love every minute of it. Basically, Greg's given you the kind of snapshot of it. From a regulatory point of view, we, we're a 3-story building that's permitted as of right in the district. The parking area at the lowest level would count as a basement because it's almost all below the current grade. But just to kind of tell you how that works and what the epiphany was for us as we looked at this and tried to make something that felt like it would work functionally, is the North Street is relatively level going along here, so that each of the entries along North Street, which would be the 3 storefronts, and then the entry to the residential lobby, those are all right around the current sidewalk level. As you come around the big curve here and get onto Station Street, the property drops off, as I'm sure you've all seen. It drops off about 5-6 feet, something like that. And we realized as we looked at this that if we could have a decent ramp going down into a lower level, we could actually get down to another full floor below the first floor for our parking. So to us, that kind of made it something that was feasible. It doesn't have the same challenges that the Lincoln Building had for so long of trying to find a way to accommodate the residential parking. These would all be, the units that we're talking about would all be condominiums. So on top of the regulatory need to have parking, there's clearly a market need. Nobody's going to spend a lot of money on a condo without having parking. So having said that, the basic shape of the building, as Greg said, we're not filling the entire lot, but we're filling much of it. And the basic shape is kind of like a rectangle with an end. Right now the drawings are showing that the end, and this is facing the square, facing the Galen's apartment building across the street. Right now we're showing it as round, or kind of a half round. We're looking at different alternatives that might be faceted, but no matter how we do it, it will be set back from the North Street facade and also from the Station Street facade. So I know that you guys are not perhaps too interested in the floor plans, and they will kind of develop as time goes on, but the elevations are obviously more critical to you. This is the elevation along North Street. This is what you see in your packet right now. It is a flat roof building. Excuse me. The floor-to-floor height from first floor to second floor we're showing is 13.5 feet. We wanted it nice and tall because retail users prefer to have tall ceiling spaces. You'd rather have something that's not too squishy. And then the first floor to second floor is 10.5 feet, which would get us 9-foot finished ceilings in the residential units. And it's a little bit taller going up to the roof, again, just to allow us to get proper roof pitches in. But our goal is for the residential units, excuse me, to have 9-foot ceilings. The basic look, it's just coincidentally, it's not unlike the Lincoln Building. Again, basically a flat roof building. We're trying to detail it in a way that's sensitive to other buildings in the square. It's probably a wood building with clapboards and wood trim. Let's see, a kind of a nice, at this end, on the left as you look at it from North Street, that would be the entrance for the residential lobby, and then the 3 entrances to the storefronts here. And by the time you get to the end of the building here, the street is starting to kind of pitch down. So really, as a practical matter, it'd be very difficult to get at-grade access to any additional space once you kind of get past the beginning of the curve on North Street. Coming around to the side that's facing back toward the square, this is how the elevation would look. And again, whether it's round or faceted, it will be kind of very, very articulated, lots of windows. When you come around the back, once again, the back is to some degree almost a mirror image of the front on the upper 2 floors. We have some kind of funky issues trying to get our parking garage coordinated with the dimensions of the main block of the building. So there might be a kind of a porch-like element here with a trellis over it. And then the entrance to the parking level would be at the end as you're on Station Street at the far right-hand end. And so you'd actually come up a little bit of a hump and then go down into the garage, and that should work very nicely. We'll have windows, we haven't drawn it, but we'll have windows on this side too, so that people will get decent views going in the other direction. The height of the building right now that we're showing to the top of the what we'll call a parapet is 39 feet from North Street. All the entries into the building at North Street are at grade because they need to be accessible. So we have about 39 feet. That allows us to get proper roof pitches in, and also gives us an opportunity to conceal mechanical equipment that might be on the roof, so that we don't have a pretty building with a lot of silly little boxes up on the roof. One of the issues that came up in the planning board informal session that we had was, how does it compare height-wise with both the buildings next door and other buildings in the square? So we had our civil engineer take some shots of the buildings along North Street and a couple of the other buildings in the square. And this you don't have in your packet, so if you want me to bring it up closer, I'm happy to do it. But basically, this is, again, along North Street. So here's our building, here's the building right next door, which is 44 North Street. This is about 26 feet to the peak of the roof. And again, we're about 38 feet to the cornice here. When we come along here, this building at 42 North Street is about 2 feet taller, 28.5 feet. And the next building down, which I think is 38, is almost 35 feet tall to the peak. So there's some variation there. Clearly, this is the tallest building within this row. But I thought my office is in the building right over Brood Awakenings. So every day I look out the window and I see the hole where the Lincoln building used to be and where the new one might be. And I thought, well, there's a lot of variation on that block too. So it would be kind of interesting to see what that really is. So what we've drawn here to your left as you look at it is, this is the block of South Street with the Lincoln building on the right and the Zona building over on the left. And you can see that, interestingly enough, there is quite a bit of variation along South Street as well. So these are the two small wood frame buildings right next door. This is the kind of bulk of the Lincoln building. And right now we're showing our building about kind of comparing the same elements. We're about 5 feet taller than the Lincoln building. And when you get down to the Zona building, that's 45 feet tall, so that's quite a bit taller than everybody else. There are several other buildings that we shot in the square. The Hingham Institution building is taller than this at the roof peak. And of course, as you know, if you're standing across the street looking at it, it's quite a bit taller than what I think of as the old Nobles building, which isn't Nobles anymore, but anyway. So we have a lot of variation in height in the square. And you know, clearly this is going to be a bigger building in every way than the Settles Glass building, but we feel like if we articulate it and detail it well, it won't look overwhelming, and it's not inconsistent with other development throughout the square. And that's kind of it. I took, once again, I took the outline of our proposed building and I put it here next to the outline of the Lincoln building, just to give you a sense of the comparison of the two. We're a little bit taller, but I think the basic image and feel of it is going to be quite a bit like it. And as you look at this, we've kind of faded away the end projection a bit, just to show that, in fact, as you're looking at it, this will be set back, and you'll be, I think, perceiving the more rectangular block of the main form of the building on North Street. Just as a slight caveat, because, as Greg says, you can't get too far into these things without spending a tremendous amount of time and money. So as we have gotten this far, we have gotten some updated survey information. Probably the building's going to get a little bit shorter in this direction because we have some issues that we have to deal with on this side, whether it's setbacks from the property line or kind of electrical boxes or whatnot. But you know, for the most part, I think the image here is what we'd like to accomplish. And as Greg said, we'd like to know if this feels achievable to the Historic Districts Commission. The Planning Board is, I think, anxious to hear what you guys have to say as well. But that's kind of where we're at.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.
Any? Please.
I'm Bill Ramsey, 55 North Street. I'm the abutter who's going to be probably most significantly impacted by the project. live directly across the street up on the hill.
Yeah.
So as an initial matter, I do want to say that I think this concept is a very good concept, and I think it's going to work in that part of downtown and the district. It's a big building, mass-wise. They're going to use up, almost every square inch of that lot, but that's okay. I get that. You need to maximize the use. I do have some concerns about the height.
Excuse me, what did you say about
About the
concerns
height.
the
The height of it. I would respectfully disagree with Jerry that the 12-foot difference between the building to the left of it, looking on North Street, and that height is pretty significant. It's going to have a significant impact on my sunlight, my view out the window. The bylaw does allow for 3 stories in that district. We don't say how big those stories are, but 3 stories is 3 stories. I would just like to see if we could bring it down a little bit in height. Also, I would submit to you that in a historic district, you really shouldn't have mechanical apparatus on a roof. I think that looks bad. I know we have a building downtown where we do have that, and I think that just looks awful. I think the buildings without the apparatus on top would look nicer in historic districts. So overall, I'm very supportive of the concept. I like what they want to do here. I just want to see if we could maybe work on the height a little bit. That would be appreciated to myself, my family, and to my residents. But I'm looking forward to having a neighbor over there. It's been a while, and I think this would be a good thing to have.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, we didn't shoot anything across the street, but a lot of those are actually higher in elevation, much higher in elevation, because you go up that hill and they're built up on the hill. So the houses across the street, again, we didn't shoot any, we can shoot them, but I think that, I don't know your exact house, but there are houses across the street that are gonna be 5 to 7 feet taller than this structure.
That would be great for me to know.
From grade.
That would be great for me to know because, honestly, the sunlight comes up over the cemetery,
Right,
and that sunlight is working for my driveway,
yeah,
looking at my house. That would be great for me to know. Thank you.
yeah.
Well, I think it's a great thing to do, and once we have all the facts, we can do shadow studies and all that kind of stuff, just to give you a sense of, will you be in shadow? Where will the shadow stop? What time of year will all that happen? So,
I mean, that was my only objection on that item for the project. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, well, one other thing that Merrill Associates told me is Galen's building, the brick building, grade to peak is taller than this building. So the brick building, even though it is,
Doesn't he sit down?
but he,
Right.
that's how he sits down,
Right.
but his building is taller.
Right, the hill goes up and then to the houses across the street, there's gotta be 20 feet in elevation.
and I didn't draw that here because it was a little hard to do in a way that would do it justice, because really you perceive that building as much going around the corner as you do from North Street. So,
Yeah.
but it is it's not unlike it in mass. And again, if you think about the rectangular portion of the building, which I think is going to be the most prominent, that's very much like about probably within a couple of feet of the length of the Lincoln building. So, most of us remember what that looked like, and if we've looked at the drawings, we know what it's going to look like. And it's not small, but it's not as big. For example, I think front to back is the Hingham Institution building.
Good. Any other comments? All right. I'll just start off real quickly. Thank you for coming in. The town needs something that will connect the harbor, some of the shops down there, to the center of town. And I'm sure everybody's been driving by Subtle Glass for years and years and years and just kind of shake their heads and when is somebody going to do something with this? And so we're glad you're here. I think I just have some minor comments related to the structure, and it sounds like you've already been considering some alternatives for the semicircular facade. So perhaps something that is a little bit more angular, or that could maximize this.
We're going to move that way because
Okay.
when we first drew it, we were thinking conceptually, and it seemed like a cool thing to do, kind of a bit of a bay window sort of structure. But the more I thought about it, I think, how the heck am I going to detail that? All the
Right.
curved surfaces, and how do you do the molding? So I think we will get something more angular and more faceted. So it will be easier to execute in a nice and proper way.
I think Bill brings up some very good points related to the potential apparatus on the top of the building. If that can be concealed somehow underneath without detracting from the parking aspect of it. I'm not sure all the coding that's required with those units, but I think it's a good point.
We'll review that carefully because the last thing that I want as an architect and as a resident
Is
of
to see
Hingham
the units,
is to see
right.
a bunch of mechanical equipment. So
Right, you have
we
to.
will make sure
right.
that if there is anything up there, it will only be seen by people flying overhead.
Then we can do screening that matches, that matches the building, so when you're looking back at it, you're not gonna see equipment, you're gonna see screenage that matches the building, so it just blend in.
And then, given the other roofs of the immediate buildings on the street, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to make that a little bit more consistent with some of those buildings. I think a flat roof might be able to work there, but I'm wondering if you've done any studies with something with more of a traditional approach like some of these other buildings here. Were you able to get in a third floor?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. The building is very deep, so if we did that, it would be a mansard, effectively. And there are a couple of issues with that. One is that to make it look right, the angle would have to be a pretty good angle, so it would have to effectively, be an angle kind of like the building over there on the left-hand end. Otherwise, it starts to look just a little phony baloney, no matter how you detail it or how you clad it. The steeper you get the angle, the more floor space you're taking up, and it's a bit of an issue. It's a very expensive site, not just to buy, but to build on, because you just can't even imagine all the things you run into on a little site like this, whether it's bad soil conditions or utility banks
High
or
groundwater.
high groundwater. So it's going to be quite expensive, and not that I know the board doesn't concern itself normally with things like this, but in order to make it economically feasible, we really kind of have to get the most saleable area out of it that we can, consistent with getting approvals from all of our boards. The fact that we have some flat roof buildings in town, including the Lincoln Building, makes me think it's not out of the ordinary and it's not unique. And the prospect of losing a fair amount of floor space by doing a mansard while keeping it at this height. You could always put a peaked roof on it, and then it would be another 12 feet, which nobody wants. So
Right.
it's a bit of a tension. If it were a smaller building, if it were kind of a smaller lot, and we didn't have all the site costs, I'd say sure. But I think in this instance, it feels like the best way to make something that looks nice, that fits into the town as a whole, and that can be affordable for the ultimate development. So that's our thought process anyway. Did not ignore the thought.
I'm very interested to hear what our other panel members have to say on some of these things, especially the architects.
I have a question. Have you checked the groundwater level? Considering Station Street used to be a pond.
Oh, yeah, we know.
I was curious,
We have all that worked out, yeah.
out of curiosity,
No, we definitely
where
have.
is the
We've
groundwater
done
level?
wells and we know, it's between 4.5 and 5.5 feet, high groundwater.
That's not very low.
No, it isn't. So, again, this is
Works.
part of our challenge is, right now we're showing the garage level at around 6 or
That's what I was
6.5
wondering.
feet.
Right,
And we're probably gonna wanna pick it up a little bit, and the more you raise it, the more you have to deal with funky structure for the first floor, so that you minimize the depth of the structure, so it's one of the challenges that we have.
yeah, we'll be 18 inches above high groundwater no matter what we do. Don't want to build any garages that fill up 8 inches of the water.
You're looking for bargains in sump pumps,
Exactly, it's a very expensive.
wear it out in the swap shop. Want me to add to it?
I really like it. I think this could be great to get something
different than what's currently there. And as you mentioned too, connecting downtown with the harbor would be great as well. I do have one question. Over on the south elevation, what is this down here?
So that's a good, let's put the plan up. Beg your pardon. The garage extends out a bit of a bump. And our thought is that we'll essentially have a porch there that would be at the main floor level. And that porch would be, it might be something for service, an exit corridor, could even be some of the mechanical equipment that we're trying to get off the roof that we can conceal more easily here. But what you're looking at in the elevation would be, at least right now conceptually, a kind of a trellised, latticed covering over it. So that whatever it is, it would be screened in a pleasing way. That's the concept, so that when you get up to the first floor level, the setback from Station Street is actually quite a bit more than obviously it is along North Street.
And then when you did the elevations for the other buildings, did you look at the other building on Station Street? The one that would be to the other, to the right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before. It's taller from grade to the top, but it starts at a lower grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think my next project will be to get someone to hire me to redo that building.
Yeah, that building's not gonna be great for sales.
But otherwise, conceptually, I like it. I mean, I would also be interested in looking at maybe a different option, as you had mentioned, rather than the round front.
Yeah.
But that would be it.
That's great.
We think it's tough to furnish.
Yeah,
It's
that's
tough.
probably very true as well.
It's tough to buy round couches.
Well, like I say, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
If that's all we get out of Jerry Winter again.
Chuck, what do you think? I find the three-story flat roofed building to be attractive. I don't have any problem with that. However, I would like to see, I believe, that pediment element used more to basically break up that horizontal at the roof line. And it seems to me it could occur on both the North Street and the Station Street elevations. So that basically you've got a continuing repetitive element that breaks up that horizontal. And I also feel strongly that circular drum is not appropriate on that corner. It's a very prominent corner in the town of Hingham. I assume you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. I think there's tons of room. I mean, again, if we're feeling like the general approach and the general size, give or take some, adjustments where we can make them, is going to be acceptable. There's tons of development left to do that we'd love to work with you. Lots of for sure. I mean, I kind of like it, but the pride of authorship here is not significant.
I think you're on the right track.
Well, thank you. Well, and that's, we appreciate your time for this informal meeting, and that's what we're trying to get a sense, because we have the property tied up with a deposit, and as time goes on, we have to make more non-refundable deposits and more engineering, consulting, and holes.
More architectural fees.
Those are optional.
Yeah,
Those are
to be determined.
to be determined.
And so we're just trying to get a sense of which way the wind's blowing, if we are on the right track, because, like I said, before we even came to this point, we wrestled 10 different things, and we keep coming back to this, and if this doesn't work, I don't know what will work there. We looked at, other than putting gas tanks back in the ground, but I don't think we want that.
No.
We can't salvage the existing building. It's just not viable.
We looked at every which way.
It's just not viable.
We'll get Peter Bickford to relocate it somewhere, right?
So I apologize for missing the beginning of the presentation. I reviewed the documents, and my gut reaction is it seems to be a lot for that site, just a big mass on that site. I understand that site clearly needs something, and improvement is a good thing. think what would be helpful is to see a model, a physical model of that mass on that site with a few buildings on either side of Main Street in context, so we can really get to see what that feels like. Under against the flat elevations, I can see it's a little taller, but as we're describing another building that may be taller but sits lower, I think seeing that in context in the site model would be important to really understand what that mass is.
Well, as far as mass wise, it's no bigger than the apartment building next door. It's actually smaller, right?
I think it is shorter. I think it is.
Yeah.
Shorter in
Square footage wise, I wonder what the buildings are compared to the top 3 floors.
Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find that out. I mean, mass wise, I think that building, to me anyway, looking at it, it's a pretty similar building mass wise to the apartment next door. And that's one god awful looking building next door, so should improve it.
I second your call for a model.
Yeah, I think it's critical to really understand that in context.
I think what Mike and Chuck are asking for will probably be a good visual tool for some of your other meetings with some of the other departments in town too.
I mean, would 3D modeling, like, on a screen be okay? Not an actual model. I mean, a lot of modeling now is done with computers.
Yeah, but I think an actual physical model, particularly in a context like this where, it might get passed around and people might look at it in different ways, I think would be helpful.
Okay. Foam cutout stuff.
Yeah.
With the nearby buildings also part of that model, I think would be great. It doesn't have to be extremely detailed, but you can just cut out, see models just kind of cut out the facade and just kind of paste it on with some of that work. And
Right.
It's really been
Right, this is for mass only, right? It's not a detailed model. You want it for mass.
Right, mass only, and I think, the surrounding buildings can be just a foam block, you don't need any
Right.
windows or anything on it.
Okay.
That one, I think would be helpful to just cut out the cardboard and glue on the elevations like Hans is describing.
Virginia?
Nope.
Good.
Apologies for being delayed.
It's okay. It's all right. Question not really related to the architecture here, but has the site been completely decommissioned, or what's the?
It's been cleaned to standards as of 1994.
Yeah.
Is there
Fully-
just
So we're
fully
doing,
remediated.
we're doing testing now to make sure that it's up to standards of today.
okay?
Yeah, we did some test pits and found no evidence of any
No.
petroleum impact. We did also some 3 or 4 borings, and there was no noticeable
Yeah.
impact.
And the soil to elevation 4 is going away. You're at about elevation 16 at the street, and we're going to elevation 4 with the garage and building up from that. So any soil there that's an issue will be gone. It won't be there anymore after we're done. It's just how much does it cost to bring it somewhere? That's the big
But
thing. Could cost $5 a yard or $100
in
a yard.
1994, when it was decommissioned as a station, I mean, they took out 2,000 tons of impacted soil. So that was everything there was really imported, and it's been washing in and out for 23 years.
Is that the last time the building was operational?
I think there was a little art and craft store in there.
Really?
That's all I
I
remember.
remember there was something in between.
Yeah, I mean, there's some residue of paint by numbers or something in there, and there's trees growing up through the floor. That's about it. I don't remember. I mean, you guys have all been around too, but I don't remember anything operating out of there. Sell Christmas trees there or something, maybe.
I don't have anything to add. I think the windows are really pretty. The number of them, and just, even though it's tall, I feel like the usage of all those windows really kind of make it light looking, and just a pretty element.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask, I'd like to ask Jerry a question?
Please.
It would probably be helpful from your perspective if you could explain how you see this building fitting into the context of North Street, the oldest street in town?
Well, that's an interesting question. The basic style here is certainly not the 17th century style. It's much more of a 19th century commercial style. So in that regard, it isn't so much like some of the other buildings there, although it's not a pure street at this point. And certainly when you contrast it with the apartment building across the street, I think it helps to bring it back more to what the rest of the square feels like, which is rather eclectic. We do have, I forget what the address is, but there's a kind of a brick building down the street that's a little more 19th century, and frankly, even the immediately adjacent buildings, they don't feel ancient to me. They feel, I won't say generic, but they certainly feel like they could be of any number of eras. So I believe that this will, I don't think it will show them up necessarily. I think it will complement them, but it is, stylistically it is different. Just as the Lincoln Building, frankly, is different from almost all the other buildings in the square too. So, again, I guess I hear what you're saying. I don't think that having a little variation, as long as it's kind of historically sensitive and not a terribly contemporary building, I think that is what Hingham Square is.
Sure, he wasn't saying anything at all.
Well, I mean, Andrea,
But
to Jerry's point, I own the building at the corner of North and Main.
Yes.
And, you contrast my wood frame Barbara's Market building to Hennessy's News.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's
Completely different, yeah.
brick and aluminum windows and,
And
and we have, I don't know how old my building is, 150 years or more. Every postcard I've ever seen, it's in it. So it could be older than that. And the cedar trees in the basement that are holding her up are doing well.
That's good.
So there's no consistency.
Okay, any other thoughts? All right, gentlemen, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you.
Hopefully we've
Appreciate
given
your
you
time.
some feedback here that can help you along in the process. But I think just in summary, what you've heard here is we all would like to have see something on that site.
Absolutely.
And I think what you have here is a good starting point, and it's just a question of honing in on what it looks like exactly.
Sure.
And in what configuration, but thank you.
And I think the clapboard and the wood trim
Yeah.
is really nice too.
thrilled to explore that. Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry for the slight delay. Next up, we have South Shore Baptist Church with an application to install a wireless facility on the steeple of the church. The project also includes placing a generator on the roof and some HVAC units on the south side of the church. So thanks for coming in this evening and giving us an overview.
All right. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff, good evening. My name is Earl Duvall. I'm with the law firm of Duvall and Klasnick, and I represent the applicant, Verizon Wireless. And thank you for having us in. Just prior to the meeting, we did distribute an updated set of plans and an updated set of photo simulations. I guess what I'd like to do is just give a very brief overview of what the proposal is. introduce a few folks that are with me this evening for the project and highlight the couple recommendations that we had and highlight the revisions to both the plan set and the photosims. And then we can open it up to any questions that that you might have. So, along with me, first this evening, we have the real estate consultant from Verizon Wireless, Sean, is here. We also have a representative from the engineering firm, Hudson Design Group, Sergio. Okay, thank you for identifying yourselves back there. We also have a representative from the church, Kent Forkner. He is the chair of the elder board, and he's also a Hingham resident. Okay. So, as you know, what it is that Verizon Wireless is proposing to do is to install a communications facility inside the South Shore Baptist Church steeple. I think you've probably all had the chance to look at the the photo simulations, and you can clearly see where the steeple is there. What we're proposing to do is to install the panel antennas, the remote radio heads, a couple junction boxes within that steeple, and they will be completely concealed within that steeple. The existing wooden panels that are on the steeple, those would be removed and replaced with a fiberglass radio frequency friendly material that would be made to look exactly as it is existing now. And the idea, as you know from behind that, is to make certain that the antennas are concealed and the equipment is concealed and that there be no visual changes. In addition, we would be proposing to install a natural gas powered emergency generator. As you can see from the photo simulations, that generator would be installed in the rear section of the building, along with a number of other pieces of equipment, air handlers that already exist on that rooftop. We would install two condenser units on a concrete pad on the south side of the church. As you know, condenser units are for the venting, cooling, and ventilation of the equipment room, of which the equipment room is proposed to be in the basement of the church. All lines and conduits and gas connections, everything would be internal through the church, so there would be nothing added to the outside of the church. So since we filed the application, we had received a couple recommendations from what the initial photosims and plans showed. The first being that the proposed condenser units that are on the south side of the building, and I'm not sure which. If we look to photo location number 1 in the package, the initial photo simulation showed that we would install shrubs on the outside of that to help conceal those condenser units. There was a recommendation that came to us with regards to putting a solid cedar fence with a top rail and painted white. I think the size of that it's 7 feet deep and 10 feet wide, and there's a 6-foot double gate. You can see, so that's why we redid the photo simulations to give you the idea of what that would look like. The second recommendation was that that when the panels were removed from the wooden panels removed from the steeple, that the church would be required to save those panels, so that in the event that the site was decommissioned or those antennas and equipment came out of that steeple, that we could then take down the fiberglass RF friendly materials and reinstall the existing wooden panels. So the idea to the proposal is to conceal the equipment from view, and to keep the preserve the visual as it exists today. As you know, when Verizon or any of the carriers have a gap in coverage, and they're trying to locate what it is or where they might be able to install the antennas to remedy their gap in coverage, they look to a number of different things, whether or not there's an existing tower, or if there's a rooftop or something where they could install. In many instances, we do install, and I'm sure, as you all know, in steeples, and it makes a very good place to conceal the antennas, and at the same time providing a significant benefit to the church, and then to the community with regards to enhanced communications and public service. So that's just sort of a very broad overview of what it is we're proposing to do. I guess I would open it up for any specific questions that you might have for either myself or my colleagues can help, and I'm not sure if Mr. Fortner had anything that you wanted to add. Or...
Probably the only question I had was just the steeple is the Snake in 70 steeple. So I assume you knew that with your recommendation. It's just a question on that. It wasn't that historic, but it's still important to understand.
Any comments from the audience? All right, let's open it up.
The compressors in the front, is there anywhere that they could go other than up front to the right, or is there a way to put them further in the back?
I think based upon the location of the equipment room, and to be able to conceal that inside the building, as opposed to putting those equipment cabinets outside the building as well. We need to keep those condensers close to that. So
the equipment is underneath the old portion of the church.
Correct.
Okay.
I think to your point, Thomas, that's I think it's unfortunate that the condensers would have to be that far front, given the streetscape view. That's a busy site. That whole property is very busy, and anything that can be calming to a visualization from the street would be, I think, most welcome. I have one other question, and that is totally out of ignorance. Why does the wood have to be switched out for fiberglass for the equipment?
So what will be inside that steeple is 4 panel antennas,
Yeah.
and radio frequency. The wood panel would block the signal. So when I was referencing,
Fiberglass wouldn't.
right, so an RF friendly, substance, so that the, that can, send and receive, through that.
Yeah.
For example, when we, would construct a tower, and, we would want to construct that above tree line, because, anything that's in the front of those antennas would block the signal. So, and there's a company or a number of companies that have specialized in doing concealment projects that we would utilize for that material.
Is the height of the fence, are these units 5 feet tall, or what's the
I believe the specs are included, and I think we can look at the plan to confirm, but I think they're 31 inches tall and about 2 feet deep. And so I think that's what was proposed there. The overall height was 5 feet, and then so you wouldn't be able to see the tops of those condensers from any
Did the
location.
recommendation for the fence come from the commission? From me.
Yeah, we had initially proposed putting some additional shrubs there, and as you can see from the photo simulations, you certainly can still see. You could see the condensers, with the shrubs.
And the generator is also for the equipment, right?
Yes, so the generator is on the rooftop, and it's an emergency backup power generator. So that generator, other than going on for a weekly routine testing, will only go on in event of emergency. So if there's a power outage, that generator will kick on to power up the communications facility so that customers and
Then I have another question, but that's actually for the church. Other condensers, where do you have those? Are they up on the roof?
They're on the
Yeah.
roof.
Or on the roof?
so if we, and I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
if we look,
those are the ones.
Exactly.
if you look at the very last page, there are a number of condensers or equipment up there,
And
and that's natural gas.
And the reason the condensers cannot go up there is that because the run lines would be too long? Or is it just out of pure, it's easier just to go through the sidewalls or?
Typically what happens.
Let me introduce once again Sergio. He's from Hudson Design Group, the engineering firm.
Hi.
One of the main reasons for keeping them that close is we found that when you run long lengths through the building with the pitch and everything, those lines tend to get clogged. They end up causing other issues as well, leaks, and it is a very long run, especially for that type of condenser. So the closer we keep them to the room, that's basically the reason for trying to get them in that proximate location.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The generator on the roof, I assume you've looked at many ways to try to squeeze that up there, but there's no way around having to add that steel dunnage that sticks out the side with the guardrail?
Yes, we've looked at various locations, and one of the things at this site, it is a no-dig site, so anything on the ground would be even more obtrusive. That's a newer portion of the church, so structurally that's the soundest place that we found to place it.
Okay.
How close? Any other?
Probably already answered this. I'm looking at this picture.
It should say on the
Yes.
bottom photo location.
Photo location one.
Okay.
And you probably, I think you're gonna tell me there's a distance issue. But I see this looks like it's an electrical box there, a green electrical box with three pillars to keep people from running into it.
Yes.
And my question would be, is there any way to get your equipment closer to that? So that, we're cluttering one spot and not,
Again, the issue with that was in trying to not disturb anything. We did visit that, but as far as being a no-dig site, we'd like to stay away from any of that. That's a transformer for the electrical company, so.
you don't wanna be near it.
Well, yeah,
You'd rather not be near it.
we'd rather not be near it, and again, the no-dig thing, there would be a little bit of a foundation that would have to be dug for anything like that. As far as housing the generator, etc.
So the generator, what's inside that fence is gonna sit on a pad, just a pad of some kind?
That's good. Yeah, that's gonna sit on some type of concrete pad or a prefabbed, something that they just drop in place. Could even be like a PVC material. And again, it runs into the whole line thing. These are very delicate, small lines, so running anything like that underneath the driveway and trenching, that's not typical of what they would do with an HVAC unit.
And we really have a dead spot there in Hingham for Verizon?
Yes.
Yes.
I must not have ever tried to call anybody from the church.
The condensers at the front where you've got this new fence that's approximately 6 feet high, does that have to be accessible on all sides or just,
It's just accessible in the front. It's accessible, what would be to me the side, from the side only.
yeah?
It's 6 foot, total space for those gates.
I guess where I'm coming from is that could part of that be hidden by shrubs?
Yes, we could actually propose to put shrubbery even around the fence,
Okay.
if that made more
And
sense.
then have the opening to the back.
Sure, yeah, I think it would work there. Yeah, that works. Yeah, we could flip this gate to the rear.
There's other units, electrical units, and they're on this, out in the parking lot and nearby the church and the exterior too. I mean, this is not the first time that you've got other units out there, correct? Even the picture, there's in the parking lot, there's a large green
Yeah, that's
box.
existing power cabinet.
Yeah, and I think around the exterior of the building, there's other, you've got some other things going on there too. So,
Maybe something further back.
Yeah.
That's,
I'm just making the point that this is not, this is not out of the ordinary. We see this on homes, where to put these units. We like to see them concealed as much as possible towards the rear of the property, but, in this case, I think you're doing a good job of using using what's there, integrating that into the building as best you can, trying to conceal it. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of white on this. It's that whole facade. There's a lot of siding here, so I think it's going to blend in somewhat. Any other comments, questions? Commission like to move forward with this at this point, or we're okay? All right. Mike, you want to make a motion on this?
Sure, I'll make that motion. I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to South Shore Baptist Church, 578 Main Street, to install wireless communications facility, which would include antenna, as shown in the drawings, generator on the roof, and condenser units on the ground, all as indicated in the document submitted. Fence surrounding the condenser units is to be cedar painted, solid, 5 feet high.
The opening in the fence, or the opening, the door to get, or the gate to get into is to be on the rear.
Right. Which is different from the documents, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Chuck will be our fifth voting member on this.
And I think the other recommendation was to plant.
In addition to the fence, okay, planting in addition to the fence.
And to conserve the the panels that are removed.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Oh, I got a second. Second, we need a, you want me a second?
Yeah, it's a second.
Lois is gonna be the second one.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry. Thanks, Lois. Good catch.
I know.
I'm out of practice.
You say that, we'll have double meetings.
Okay, next up, thank you for waiting. We have 31 Otis Street. This is the bathhouse. New construction, continuation from last time. Thanks for coming in again, guys.
Chairman, Alan Robson, witness.
You're going to make it to
Okay.
trustees.
And Sevi Strakolowski is in Aspen, Colorado.
Wow,
You have me this evening.
wow.
Timing is in.
So we got the materials that you provided since the last meeting, and in addition to some of the other buildings in the area that have some composite work that were done, that was very helpful. Thank you. So I think there was some questions last time regarding the use of the composites on the entirety of the building. I think there's been some back and forth about the roofing material perhaps. And maybe you can just update us on what your thoughts are since the last meeting, and we can take it from there after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were saying.
I'll just give you a recap quickly on what the materials were proposed. The roof as submitted, so basically we're gonna go with an asphalt shingle with a shadow line type that kind of look, a slate, not a slate, I'm sorry, cedar shape. But we're gonna put an add alternate in the specifications in the bid process to include, we're hoping to get cedar shakes on the roof as well. It's now coming in about 3 times the cost. So the two elements that we're gonna be putting that alternate on pergolas and the cedar shakes on the roof.
I just want to make clear that the budget as presented to the advisory committee and the budget as presented to the board of selectmen include the estimate for what Mark just described. So we're not hoping that by some miracle we have enough money to do what we're describing. We're actually budgeting for a cedar shingle roof, and we're hoping by some unfortunate accident that the bids come in way over what we anticipate, but we're planning to do that.
Right.
So I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
Okay.
And then for the siding, the base build bid will include cedar shingle siding. The windows, what we're proposing is, this is a Marvin Integrity Clad Ultra. It's a wood window, but this is different than the aluminum finish. This is a fiberglass finish, and it has it's a simulated divided light. And the reason we're going with fiberglass is from the location to the water. Salt water tends to beat up on aluminum and can cause some thin. It's a very good window.
Question about that, please. Is there a spacer bar that's going to be included as part of that?
We can put a spacer bar in there. Yeah, this one doesn't have the spacer bar on the sample. We'll get the spacer bar. And we still want to keep the aluminum as an option too, because we're going to go into some custom sizes, and but that's what we're looking to do for the trim, the window surrounds, and the sill. We were looking to go for a PVC. This is a Kuma product, and it's the siding, the headstock, and the sills. We want to get that thick historic sill. And that's where the maintenance becomes an issue because water tends to collect in that area and paint after, start to peel over time. And we found that the painted PVC holds up years and years without any problems, and it doesn't peel. You can just repaint it if it has to. The railing system for the deck, that's in another product we're hoping to use as a PVC, and I can pass this around if you want. There's a company that makes it's all milled like you would mill wood. But our options in wood with all the balusters and that's going to be a tough maintenance issue. So we're looking to just go with a PVC product on that. We originally, for the decking, we were originally proposing to go with a PVC decking, but we're going to change that now and go with EPay decking, which is a wood decking. And that will be part of the base bid. And the idea is with EPay is we really don't have to treat it. We can boil it when it first goes down to hold on to some of the color, but over time, the idea is it will gray out, but it will still look it's called ironwood, and it will last untreated for about 25 years. That's a photo of farmland elevation. To the left is a new EPay that went down, and next to the existing EPay that's been there for a while. And then lastly is the pergola system. We're hoping to match that sample there and keep that as a PVC composite.
You mentioned a bid alternate on the pergola. Is the bid alternate in regard to a different material or just
It was to include, that item was just going to be an add alternate to include it.
Yeah.
We could do that if we had to, but it's at this
It's either
point.
there or it isn't.
It's, yeah.
Okay.
So just to recap, the first time we came, it was a composite deck, asphalt shingle roofs, and some of this other material we described. So we're coming back with cedar shingle roofs and the EPay decking. And I think what we're asking for is some consideration when it comes to some of the maintenance associated with the building, the windows, and some of the other composite materials. Currently, we have the gazebo that I regularly visit every year. Dave Dempsey downstairs is our carpenter in the town of Hingham, DPW, and we're replacing and painting that building pretty regularly. And not when I say regularly, I don't mean every 5 years. I mean every year or every other year. It requires some sort of maintenance. We're trying to avoid some of that on this particular project. So, with that, that's the context.
I took a look at some of the properties that you gave us to look at how the materials performed over time, and I was actually the previous applicant, South Shore Baptist Church. It was very interesting to me on the right side of the church, on the south side, which gets all the sun. I think that was a composite, a lot of that around the sills, and it's that has held up very well, and I think that was 2007, so that's 10 years out, and it still looks really good. If you go around the shady side, the other side of the church, on the east side towards the water, I think there's still a lot of wood there, and I'm not sure why one side was wood and one side was composite. It's kind of predates me, but that is not held up as well.
It's probably wood. Anything within 150 feet of the street was all wood.
It was on the new
in
addition part even.
It was.
Yeah. So it looks.
Was it on the siding or the trims?
Window trim.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just because of the
and
location.
baseboard.
It doesn't dry out and it's
Yeah.
really mold and mildew. But and one thing is we didn't paint the trims there. It was all white.
Mm-hmm.
We plan on painting the trim, and I'm sure Sevi will be back in front of Andrea on color selections. And again, with a nice coat of paint,
Yep.
you won't be able to tell the difference.
On the roofing, I could go either way, architectural or cedar. Just in terms of the town budget and the maintenance over time, I'm a little bit concerned about how a red cedar roof is going to do with that proximity to the water. And you may be back in 10 years replacing that. And that's a lot of roof on that building. So it's more of a budget issue than, it's a little bit out of our concern or jurisdiction. But I just don't want to see you coming back in 10 years and the shingles are turned up. There's rot there. There's just way too much salt in the air, and it just, an architectural shingle that's thick, that shows some shadow, might be, since it's a new building, might perform better, and it might be better for just the town's budget. So that's all.
But there's no question the asphalt shingles will hold up a lot better. What we're doing, and part of the added expense for that is we're gonna membrane the entire roof, and then we're gonna put some, a 3/4 inch space and vent the eaves so it allows it to breathe underneath, and that helps prevent some of the cupping of the shingles. So it dries out from both sides, but it's the extra detail going into that and membrane, it's driving the cost. There is a premium in that.
It looks wonderful when it goes down.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from personal experience, the first 5 years it looks really good, but then it starts, and if you get 20 out of it, it's terrific, right? But I just in that location it might be a challenge. So some of my
The
thoughts.
boathouse is a good example too. You can see where some of it starts to cup in there.
What are the column enclosures made of? So first of all, how big are they and what are they?
Oh, those were, I have some other, they will be made of PVC as well. And we'll articulate some of them, these are just some of the options we have. But we'll probably put some molding around, maybe some insects. Really dress it up.
One of my biggest concerns with, considering some of these materials, these PVC materials, particularly the railing, is that I imagine that's pretty expensive, that particular product. And
That is.
what's the likelihood that you actually end up with that product versus some other inferior product?
Well, we have, we'll end up with that product or one very similar. There were two other manufacturers we found that can actually go. That product is actually custom built, to their profiles, but there's only 3 manufacturers in this area that do it.
So we'll specify,
What we don't want.
we'll specify, so when we're in the public bidding process, we have to be careful not to be proprietary in terms of what we spec out, but typically what you can do is, this is the type that we're looking for, this is a similar brand or equal, and then when the contractor submits, it won't be a bait and switch in the sense that they're gonna submit an inferior product, it gets reviewed by me, the architect, and if we feel that it isn't the same type of product, we reject that submittal and we ask them to resubmit something that does match what we're proposing.
Yeah, it's just a matter of making sure when you get your bids, right, like that's
Yeah,
included in
there are several manufacturers that have, composite systems where you see, we would go to wood before we accepted something like that.
And so, I'm looking at this, and obviously these are posts for the railing, but in regard to the column enclosures here that are holding up the roof, is that the same product?
It'd be
or
the
is
same
that-
material, it'd probably be, would take off, keep a similar theme all the way around, so they'll be wide, probably 12 by 12s and have insets.
And how is that
Particularly.
made? Is it come molded and you just cut the top and the bottom, or is it actually assembled?
You can have it assembled, it can come molded where they epoxy all the joints in the field or in the shop, or you can have it done in the field. But if these people do it, they probably, it would all be only cut and fabricated, the whole thing. in the shop.
I've got a question about the roof vent. Is that also PVC and it's stormproof?
The roof, the material of the roof?
No, the vent.
Oh, the vent will, well, I don't know yet.
Okay.
It may be copper.
Okay.
It's probably gonna be copper, but one of the vents, if the soffit vents we may not have, because we're gonna insulate at the roof. So we will not insulate at the ceiling of the building. And that will keep a warm roof. I don't know if I answered your question, but the vent would be at the drip edge, and that would be copper.
Okay. I'm talking about the roof vent.
Oh,
The louvers at the roof
yeah,
vent.
no, those could be in the
Aluminum. Okay.
Yeah.
Will they be stormproof?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, have to be. But the color would match, most likely would match what we have for the window trims.
I'm excited to hear that you changed out the deck from the previous material to eBay. So that's I'm excited about that. So thank you. And otherwise, I don't have. Looking at the proximity to the water, I don't have an issue with the windows and the trim. And I would be open to an asphalt roof as well if it comes down to that. That's how I feel.
I have a question.
I'd like to get more excited than he is. I'm glad for the deck. You had a sample of a railing that was PVC, but it had a wood.
Oh, I have it right here.
See, I could get real excited if you put the wood railing and the wood deck. And if you could do that, I don't know what the price difference would be. I also think an architectural asphalt roof is extremely appropriate considering we're doing them everywhere anyway. But I just thought that was really neat.
Would you then paint that topper white,
No.
or would you keep it
No,
natural,
I would
the
do
same color
whatever.
as the deck?
Whatever you do to the
Yeah,
The deck?
that we'll probably oil it. And even maintaining it, oil is still the easiest way to do it. Just as
because you're
well as
only
the
doing
deck.
this.
Yeah.
And
You just
you can-
wipe it.
That's a quick,
Easy.
because I think that's classy.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Is the PVC going to be glossy or matte like this?
No, I'm surprised that came in. I wanted to bring a baluster that they sent me where it's primed and it looks like it's a matte. But I think over time that turns more of a matte finish as well.
Does PVC do that? I thought it was supposed to not change.
No, it would like on that where that has the sheen on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
because
could,
the finish on this is nice.
yeah.
Were you planning to paint the PVC?
We could do that. I don't know what Sevi has in mind as far as painting that. I know Roger may not want to hear that, but if we do paint that PVC, it will last. It will last, at least 10 years before it fades. It will fade before it fails.
I mean, if that's one of the conditions, then we'll make sure that it's not glossy. We
But I-
painting
I
it
wouldn't go
or,
glossy.
well, as it looks.
No,
there.
no, we didn't. That sample. I have other samples that are similar to that, including the baluster, which I didn't bring in because it was too big.
I do agree that it's a little too sparkly, so to speak.
Yeah.
That looks a little nicer now. We can do that.
But I really like that.
Do you have a piece of it ePay?
I thought I did. I went home in my shed today.
I
and
like
didn't
this
find-
Lowe's as well. I guess my concern would be like how the ePay weathers and how this weathers, and like it's kind of like they could be a mix.
That's mahogany. That's very close to ePay. In fact, there's variations in all of the boards.
Okay.
So I think it would be a
Pick
pretty
up
close match.
this.
And we could see if they'll mill Ipe in that profile. Ruin a few router bids for him, but
In public space.
That just, the one with wood on the top, it just seems like it's more sturdy.
yeah.
It's the one where Nantucket, probably.
Yeah, I really like that.
I only went to Nantucket once.
I know you brought up Nantucket at the last meeting, and that just seems very Nantucket to me.
No ballast stones, we're not gonna bring in ballast stones from Nantucket, the walkways.
We do have clamshells.
What do you think about the composite use here?
I certainly understand the pragmatic, probably necessity, but I am a reluctant purist around composite. And, you know, one issue I might raise is I understand there's a product out called Mad Dog for painting that can stem the tide of having to paint more frequently. And I just wonder if you might comment on the use of that with wood, to allow wood. You know, the patina of, there's nothing like the patina of wood. But I do have some reverence, heretical though it may be, for composite. But I just wonder if you might comment on that product and stemming the tide of.
I think if I understand that one, it's probably a ceramic based paint system similar to where they I'm sure where they say Lifetime Exteriors is one, but I know from my last from 2 years ago I was researching, we were doing some renovations on a gazebo down in Duxbury, and I was asked to look into that product, and at that time the jury was still out. I got on a couple of different painting things, and it stretches. You can stretch with wood. I don't think it will last as long as the PVC. I certainly understand your concern. We have the same concerns as well. But what I don't want to do is pressure treated wood is not an option, because this rail is 42 inches and those balusts are just going to twist and turn. And mahogany does the same thing too when they're hit by the sun. We'd be looking at cedar, which is a softer wood. It's much more expensive, and then that's where you start getting into some of the problems with the paints.
I think we can approach this this building as being a little bit different than what we traditionally look at with a home.
Yeah.
This is a high traffic public building. It's going to receive a lot of usage. So I'm not so concerned about what we do here versus how we look at other homes, how we treat other homes.
Yeah.
This is going to be a little bit of a different situation, I think.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's another aspect too. Because I come kind of from the same place you do. But it's a standalone building, and it's, when you look at it, you're not comparing it to the house next door or the commercial building next door. And the chances are there will never be something standing next to it. And the houses behind it are so far away, you're not doing a comparison. So the fact that you're not taking something that we don't ordinarily approve and pop it in the middle of North Street, I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
That's a good point.
And I'd like to add that we're also very sensitive to that issue, and that's why we sought out this particular company. We're looking for, if it's not going to be wood, we want it to be able to fabricate it using the same methods. some profiles.
Mike, are you comfortable with leaving a little bit of flexibility with the product, or how should we approach if there's some deviation from what we're looking at here that something we should consider?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can put some language in the motion, jotting down some notes, something to the effect of all final products to be comparable or better than in quality to the product submitted for review in the meeting.
That's good to say.
Yeah, I'd agree with Mike on this.
Okay.
Yeah, because until the bids come in, we really don't know, do we?
Okay.
You can also add to the motion that if there is need to change something that was agreed upon, then you would agree to come back before the commission.
Sure.
Okay. We ready for a motion then? Mike, can you be our motion guy tonight?
Sure.
I hear a motion coming from Mike.
All right.
Thank you.
So, just as a point of clarification, the address is 0 Otis Street, or is it 31?
It's now 31. The assessor's office has assigned a formal address to the building, so now it's 31. It should be 31 in perpetuity.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 31 Otis Street for the new Harbor Bathhouse and Concession Building based on documents submitted. Actually, the dates vary. One is prospective views dated October 15, 2016. Other drawings dated December 23rd, 2016. In addition, the exterior materials list dated January 6th. Windows are to be simulated divided light, fiberglass clad Marvin with spacer bars. Decking to be Ipe. Roofing to be either cedar or asphalt. If it's asphalt, final color to just be reviewed. Pergola is a bid alternate. May or may not be included depending on the bids received. The louvers at the roof are to be painted aluminum. All PVC to be painted, primed and painted. Railings to have a wood cap similar to the sample submitted for review. And all final products to be comparable to or better than in quality the samples provided at the meeting. If the products in the final bid are different than those shown here, applicant to submit for review.
Could we add architectural grade to the shingles?
Sure. Architectural grade asphalt shingles.
I'm sorry, I was writing. Did you you changed out the deck for Ipe, correct?
Ipe, yep.
Anything we forgot there? Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank you very
Good.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Lois. Chuck. Chuck. Okay. Next up, we have 222 South Street. This is also a continuation from last time, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's, yeah. This is for the construction of a garage with the room above, addition to the home, and the demolition of an existing garage on the property. And we were out to see this house a couple weeks ago for a site visit. Couple weeks. Hey, Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hi. Sorry, I'm already on I have a giant one, you guys can not mounted, no, pointer.
You can just walk us through this. This is, I think we're good.
So I think that we had a nice visit in the snow there. And I did talk to the drafter about the windows in the sizing of the windows in above the garage versus the ones at the front of the house. And the ones in the front of the house are in a cathedral ceiling room, and the ones in the garage are not going to be. So he said that, in his opinion, as far back as it is, you'll never be able to pick up that they're different. So that was his clue on that. He said if I made them, I couldn't make them as high as the windows on in the main house because I would be in the ceiling of the space above. So, yeah, okay. I put a garage, wooden garage, plain door onto the plan. I put the cut sheets of the thin recessed lights that would be underneath the soffit of the garage area, so they won't be seen at all. They'll just be down in front of the garage providing light. And I replaced the, I don't know what they were, 6 or 12 windows with the ones that are just the farmhouse 2/2 on the side elevation of the porch. I think everything else is about the same. That roof, Chuck, that you wanted, the top-down drone view of the roof.
Yes. Monica, looks like the roof moved up a bit.
No? What do you mean?
I'm looking at the proposed front elevation from last time and the proposed front elevation from this time. It looks like it moved up a foot.
Oh, the window.
No,
The dormer?
the ridge height, the ridge height on the addition is now higher than the ridge height of the main house.
It shouldn't be.
See what I'm talking about?
Yep, it shouldn't be. It should be below.
So same as the old drawing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I was looking for the windows on the proposed right elevation of the kitchen that exist out, that kind of bump out, and they're not on the proposed right elevation. But that's because we removed them, because the kitchen plan changed, and so that window, that, I don't know, that bump out window that's on the right elevation, not on the driveway side, the other side, is actually gone. We took it away. Because that's kind of where the stove is and whatnot, inside the kitchen. There's a long run of appliances on that wall because the back is all glass now. I can get you the height. I'll get you at the height of the main ridge to the floor and the new ridge to the dormer height to the ground.
Regarding the garage door.
Yep.
Is the door actually this door, or is it as drawn on the elevation?
The door that I provide, the door that I, the wooden vertical grain plain, no glass door.
So it's the ranch house.
Mm-hmm.
Panel down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. The sizing of the vertical applied wood inside the casing can be anything. So if you think that it would be better to be wider, it's rather thin. But if you want it to be wider, it can be anything you want it to be. But it's plain wood, kind of craftsman style looking. Thought it kind of went well with the house.
Are these drawings clear for the architects in terms of what you want to see and how this is going to match up with the main house?
That's not the question I have. I'm looking at the cuts. On the ranch house doors, there are several edges available.
Mhm.
And which one are you proposing to use? I'm looking at the upper right hand of the sheet where it says square ease coat step.
Mm-hmm. I could take a, it's not really super important to me because it's just the edge. I'm not gonna see it, especially from far away. The garage is really far away from the house, so you tell me, Chuck, and I'll buy it. What do you think goes best with the house? Because the house to me looks like a craftsman style house, but apparently it's
I'd go with square.
There you go.
I don't know if anyone else has an opinion on that.
What do you think about the spacing of the vertical board on the? Would
The
you like
4
it to be
inches.
wider?
4 inches OC,
Hmm.
I don't have a problem.
Okay. I mean, from far away you won't see it, but in this particular, I like the door, but it looks a little busy to me. The beadboard part.
I hear what you're saying. What else is,
You can
well,
get it anything you want. I could get it 6.
the board it says is a 1 by 2 by 6.
Mm-hmm. So I could do it 6. I could do it 8. I think 6 would be good. Same size as the border trim. Little less fussy.
Yeah. What do others feel?
A little less fussy.
So 6 inch?
6 inch.
Monica, I have a question.
Sure.
Where is this light going to be?
It's up inside. You'd see this big piece of board that runs across the front of the house. Did you
Yeah.
notice that? So there's this matching one that's here. So this is going to come off of the house enough to put that recessed light up inside there so it can shine down, but you won't see it at all. See how shallow it is?
Yep.
And it's small.
Perfect application.
I like those, yeah. They're actually really good for these really old houses that don't have a lot
Exactly.
of ceiling height too. You can get them in.
What kind of windows are you putting in?
The front windows will be wood. I want to say Matthews, but I just want to make sure that the mutton pattern is the same as the mutton pattern on the front of the house. So I actually would like the window person to come out because I've recently done a couple of Matthews windows that the mutton pattern seems, even though it seems thin to me compared to what's on the house. So there are other wooden window manufacturers that might provide something that's more matching. Since Brosco changed to Matthews, I think that the pattern of the mutton is not as thick as it used to be.
So will these be true divided line or?
Yes, true divided line.
True divided line.
On the front,
What about the rest?
Yeah. I would like to use Marvin Integrity on the rest, on the part you can't see from the house. The back, especially, the back of the house or kitchen, the side, the dormers, I'd like them to be Marvin Integrity.
Which are?
Which are what? What do you mean? Oh, the simulated divided line.
Simulated.
Simulated divided line. I'm sorry.
Wood.
Yes.
Anyone else?
And I will clarify that height difference on the dormer. I will bring in the a new drawing, submit to you, and put a elevation on that, like a numbered elevation on that.
You guys want to see that before we move forward with this, or is this something that we can review quickly?
It's actually also higher on the side elevations too. It's not just on the,
Yeah, I'm gonna get it corrected.
it's on all of them.
Is it okay on the originals? First.
Yeah, the one drawing we have on the original is this. That's the only one I have in the first pack.
This one.
So we don't have that's all we have.
But that's what we,
Yeah, it's just
but that's what we want.
yeah. We just don't have the other elevations from the sides and,
So we could reference that
yeah. Good.
and go and do it.
Chuck, do you want to see all the other elevations, or can we just?
I don't see why we can't proceed with this subject to the other information. Does anyone else have a problem with that?
Mike? Okay.
The height is a function of the fact that it's a double window, right? So you would have to lower that to keep the same pitch. The pitch on the dormer is the same pitch as the original, and the reason it's taller is because it's a double window, correct?
The pitch of the garage roof, is what you're saying?
Well, so what we're debating is the height in the garage, where the roof now becomes taller in the new portion than in the old one, right?
Yeah, the window will remain the same size as the window in the front. It's just that the window on the garage has to be lower because of not because of the pitch, because of the ceiling height inside the garage has a flat ceiling, and the room above in the front has a gable ceiling.
But this pitch right here, and this pitch is basically the same, right?
Yes.
Right, but because this is a double window, doesn't it become taller? Or no, not really?
It ends up being the same as
Or you
this.
could just lower it so that it would
I
work.
think basically it's pretty much, the difference is the width of that.
Okay.
He just made the error when I asked him to move this window up. I asked him to move this window into its proper position. We were talking on the site whether this window should get smaller so that when this window moves up, this window is in the same area of the peak, and it can't happen. So this window's gonna stay here but be the same size as this window, and this window is corrected on the new drawing. So I will just have this roof line placed on this drawing and I'll have the measurements done so that you can see that it's lower. And I won't be able to do it for 2 weeks because he went to Florida. But I'll do it as soon as he gets back.
What do you guys think?
Maybe we ought to see it corrected.
Oh, I'll bring it to you. I will bring it. I'll bring it to you and then you can decide what you want to do. If you want me to come back and re-present it, I will. If you pass it out and you see that it's corrected,
Okay.
you can let me know.
All right. Let's do that then.
Okay.
So, are you making a motion to approve this, or?
I don't think so.
Okay, then Monica does have to come back.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll come back.
thank you.
You're welcome. No problem.
Okay, Monica, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see you, March.
What's the date, Andrea?
16th, isn't it?
All right, March 16th. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Monica. Okay, next up, another continuation, this is 7 Cottage Street. Have Terry Granahan here. Good to see you.
Terry, we don't recognize.
Terry's put up some story poles on the roof that are visible from the parking lot across the street to give us a sense of what the new roof line and ridges will look like, which I thought were very helpful. So thank you.
Honestly, I'm glad we did them because it was hard to visualize it or even draw it, I think, so it was very helpful.
Very good.
Yeah.
And we've got some new drawings here too, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, welcome.
How's it going? Yeah, we revised the drawings to sort of capture the design based on our last conversation. So we were in 2 different pages, I think, last time we were here. So we sort of condensed the design approach, and you have the winning design in front of you now. So hopefully it works. The story poles look good. I mean, it's pretty clean. It cleans up the hip roof. It's much more cohesive. It works.
Yeah, it cleans up that flat rubber roof too, so, I mean, the builder's up there, it's like, you're gonna have problems over time with that, so, you know, the rubber roof up there is flat, the other one, so.
Questions?
Comment?
Yeah.
It's very visible from Clyde Street. And what my first impression was when I came down Clyde Street, and I'd already been over to the horse, sitting, looking. It gives, I'm not quite sure what peak it is, but it gives us a third peak. So you've got your little turret, your big turret, and now I think it's here? Or is it here?
It's there. Yeah, that's what.
There's a third peak now on that side. When you sit there and look, there's a peak, then there's this peak.
It shouldn't be a peak. It's an extension of the existing ridge line. So it's not.
It looks like a
third
peak to me. It looks like a point.
Well, that's.
Well, right now, it's like this, and it's like that, and there's 2 peaks, and we're just joining the peaks like that, so it's becoming one. You got 2 like that. It's like basically taking a triangle out, and now it's the way it should have been done to begin with.
It is confusing to look at, but there are less peaks. If this is approved, then there would be. Then there aren't currently.
I think what you're looking at is there's no, if I remember right, there's no piece connecting it right here. So it looks like there's a peak right. That's what you're talking about,
Visually,
right?
maybe.
I'm not sure.
That's the peak you're talking. That's the triangle you're talking about, I think. And it's because there's no piece connecting it right there. Because I looked at it first, and
Okay,
it
you
looked
saw
like
it
it was another peak. And
Okay.
then when I went around and looked at it different, I think once it gets connected, it disappears.
That's exactly right. Your eye goes through the void, and you read it as a third peak. But the idea is to clean up that to make it more attractive and cohesive.
I guess I don't see, I spent a lot of time sitting out there. I guess I don't see, I can't come up with a reason not to do it. But I have to say, I think it's taking away a lot of the flavor of the house. Right now, it has tons of character, and I know what you're trying to solve, I get that. It just sort of homogenizes that area and takes some, like, real character out of it, I think. From my viewpoint, there's a lot of character lost in the upper part of the house. The roof's gonna be the same height as the house next door, as the third one down, so there's not a big elevation difference. It's not gonna stick out in that sense. I just think it's adorable the way it is.
Well,
It certainly
but
is
I couldn't
that.
afford it, that's why you live there and I don't.
I think the Craig's house is, that's almost 3 stories, or that's
I
much.
don't know which.
So that's to the right, the gray house, to the right, they've never touched it. So I'm there, to the right of me is the Barclays.
Okay.
They just,
and
they were
then-
in, and then the Craig's house, the gray one. That's very high, I think that's at least two and a
They're
half.
also downhill a little bit.
No, it's like, yeah, and I'm down the hill, yeah, right, a little bit, yeah.
But when you look at the roof lines, I mean, they're all kind of the same, they're all in the same,
Yeah,
pretty much in the same plane, so.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't stick out in any sense to me that way.
yeah. I don't think it would be, I think it's at least, it would still be a half a story lower than the Craig's house. So you'd have that,
Oh,
yeah.
it might
Yeah. I was actually out in the boat one day, I was gonna take a picture of it, but it kinda, anyways.
Are you more concerned about the view from Cottage or the view from the horse, or both?
Well, it's not, my concern is that I think it's nice the way it is. But I can't validate saying you can't put a roof on because there is no reason that I could find. But I just want to express my opinion.
Sure.
I think it's sort of,
Who's
now it's a bowl of vanilla ice cream instead of, you know, a hot fudge sundae with a cherry on top.
Right.
That's all. Okay, move on.
You're planning to leave these 2 existing windows, right?
Correct, yes. Yeah.
And the new dormer is gonna match the existing dormer,
Yes,
except it's gonna be on a porch, not enclose an interior space.
correct. Right.
Now, let me ask, I'm curious to know about materials. You've got basically double pitch, are those gonna basically be the same, the shallower pitch of the mansard and the steeper pitch where the dormers are they the same material?
Yes,
Now, when we go to the end, which is basically 3A, you've got, one of them you show sort of a triangle on top, but no corner board. It's not really a corner board, but you don't show a panel like you do in the drawing from below. So I'm curious to know how you're treating that and what the materials are. Are they clapboards that are basically outlined with like a piece
Yes.
of 1x4, 1x?
Exactly, that's the idea, clapboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the small triangular panel down below that butts the railing?
right now that's just a panel, flat panel.
right.
Yeah, painted white, flat NDO board painted white.
One drawing, one perspective shows that as like a panel outlined with a 1x5 trim or something like that. The other one doesn't show it that way. You know what I'm talking about?
Right, I'm looking at that.
So which way are you going to do it?
So this is the, oh, I see it, underneath the triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that should be a panel, there should be a panel,
That
yeah.
should
And then
be a
above
panel.
the
Yes,
triangle should be clapboard
Right.
to
So
match
that's
to
clapboard.
match the adjacent mass.
And underneath is clapboard.
And underneath this panel. This drawing shows it better. Panel.
Yeah, right, yeah, that's right.
Here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that
Right,
right there.
no, we're looking at the same thing. So that should be panel.
That should be
This
panel.
panel with
And that's
outline.
panel now, that's panel.
Okay, and this is outlined.
That's clapboard, and that's clapboard, second
Because,
match.
because that's not what you showed here, that's what I was
Right.
getting at.
My bad.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Now show me what we were looking at.
Okay. This is treated as a panel with clapboards and it's outlined by like a 1x5, 1x6 trim. Like it's shown there.
There.
See
Okay.
that shown as
Yeah.
a panel. Okay. And that's all clapboard. And no posts. Correct?
Right, no,
posts.
yeah, no.
This third window is gonna match the existing 2 that you're gonna add.
Yep.
Trim, everything's the same, true divided light.
Everything.
Okay, and
Yeah.
and I believe the question was already asked, the 2 exterior windows there
over the porch are gonna remain.
Right, oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the door access will remain.
Yep, yep, yeah, nothing
Everything's the
inside, yeah.
same there.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Could be confusing.
When you want.
Any other comments?
Al has a comment.
Uh-oh.
You sure?
Are you sure? Well, we discussed an alternative design, and no one's seen it, so I guess we could. That's funny. I can show you that, but it's just it's an improvement, but it's a different roof line. It's more mass. It's a whole different discussion. And do you want to see it?
But it kind of addresses your concern because it recreates that little indent there. It's basically bringing another hip out, but it's not. I don't think it's a dramatic.
Oh.
I think maybe we should do one of this and then see how it looks, and then we can come back. But if you like it, I could possibly
Yeah, you may as well just.
take a look. Yeah, yeah.
Oh. Oh, I see.
It creates a.
I like it.
Oh no! I wish you didn't say that.
You mentioned it.
Well, now you have to build it.
I
See?
wish you didn't say that.
Maybe we should see story posts of that.
No, please.
That's the only change.
Yeah.
The roof below is quite massive. The 60.
You're getting rid of this big roof here too. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're getting rid of that big roof there, and the other thing it accomplishes, it gives me a buffer from 3A from the motorcycles and everything. But that you don't care about that. I don't think.
I like it. I find it very appealing.
Yeah.
It's creating another hip coming out, but it's lower than this other one. But it's recreating that little angle there where you're talking about giving the character back to the not having that big.
And it breaks that up.
Right, it does.
3A
Yeah.
and from the park down
yeah.
below.
Yeah.
So this here is remains, that's,
Yeah.
you don't need to do anything with that. That
No,
stays.
we tie right into that. It's,
Right.
Yeah. Nothing.
This is vanilla. That's hot fudge.
With a cherry on
We
top.
shouldn't have shown it tonight. No, only kidding.
No, it's
I'm playing with it.
we sprung it on you, but it does solve a lot of the massing issues and roofline concerns.
It's a much more
You must have
pleasing
been thinking
massing.
about it.
Maybe.
So would the windows be the same way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. Absolutely, you're right. Yeah.
Windows are big.
Yeah. Yeah. Could that handle 4 windows rather than 3 too, or?
Just based on this diagram, I think they're nicely placed.
Yeah.
There's a good distance between all three,
Yeah.
given the size of that
Yeah.
roof.
Right.
I think 4 would be crowding.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Okay.
Well,
Hey.
nothing like a little jog in the
Right.
road.
Just a little. How's that curveball?
No, it really isn't a curveball. We just want to introduce it and see what you thought. So.
I think you had some good feedback on this last one.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I really like the new one.
I
Good.
like the new one too.
I think wine after water.
All right.
I mean, yeah. If you
Yeah,
wanna,
that's good.
yeah. I mean, that's.
Is there any harder to build?
I mean,
There is a foundation system directly below that that would do a lot of the work structurally for us.
yeah. There's no structural. I don't have to do anything. There's a foundation. If that. Yeah, that the house was never built on top of the foundation. There's a steel beam underneath. So yeah, you'd be building in the foundation. So it'd be. Yeah, I'm really only gaining. I'm not gaining much. I don't think it could be. I don't think it's enormously expensive. I mean, once they're up there and they're doing this other stuff, so it would make sense. Al was saying they'd be doing all the flashing at one time and the things like that. So might make sense.
Good. Sure. May I have a motion from you maybe on this?
what do we just motion to proceed with this?
Yeah, what do you think?
Can I ask that the applicant put a title and a date so we can reference it?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Let's date it today,
That's fine.
February 16th, 2017. 7 Cottage Street. Version, I don't know what version we're on now.
Yeah. Call it 3.
That's the other.
That's good.
I move that we approve the conceptual design shown on drawing A3 dated 2/16/17. Which, maybe I should describe this, which shows a projected bay on the left-hand side of the rear elevation facing Hingham Bay with a hip roof. I don't know what else to say.
Third window to be added.
Third window to be added in the, to match the existing 2 windows in the mansard roof. With an open bay underneath exposed to the elements. And a new, isn't still a new hip?
Correct.
Basically covering this extension and the existing hip roof.
Right. Yep.
Does that cover it?
That's
Sounds accurate.
well done.
Good. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you. That
We
was
made
Thanks.
you happy, right? I think it's good.
So I think it's a
Yeah, I know, yeah.
the right solution was just
Yeah.
a,
That's why we showed it to you, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
good stuff. Thanks for putting the story poles up too.
Thank you.
They even survived in that wind the other night.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you put them up right after the snow?
Friday. There was there was a lot of winds, but there's no snow in the roof. We couldn't have done it, but
Yeah.
it was cold. But
I was surprised
it
you
didn't
got
take
them
that
up
long.
Oh,
Just
good.
sheetrock screws and whatever. So.
there. Terrific.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
You see, sometimes it,
All comes
Absolutely,
together.
yeah.
Sparingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Good night.
Okay. Do we have 613?
I'm sorry?
Do we have the barn here? Oh, Al, you're doing, okay,
I'm
great.
up again.
Okay, great. 613 Main Street. This is the McLaughlin residence. And they're going to do some work on the barn that's adjacent to the store.
Yes.
So,
Oh, right.
Yep.
Okay.
and we went out to see it.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there Saturday
Yep.
to walk
Yeah,
through.
we got a chance to go in there.
Did
And,
you get inside the barn?
yes, we did.
Okay.
And we got to see the clapboards over the windows, and it looks like there was a bit of a fire in there at
Yeah.
one time.
There's some some scar and some scorching.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually, the barn, if you look close, the original structure was sort of 2/3 of what's there now. So 200 years ago, someone built a barn, and then they added on to it 20 years later.
Mhm.
So it blends in quite well. But if you look close, it's an interesting little slice of history. And the idea is the owners, these barns, they fall into disrepair. They end up going away altogether. So the owner wants to do the right thing for the structure, which is great. But it can be costly, and you saw the floor, you saw the sills, you saw the windows, you saw.
Yep.
So the goal is to sort of bring it back to life, and thoughtfully. So what we're asking for is just, it's somewhat in the gray area because the large sliding door will be closed almost all the time, but when it's open to let some light in, because there aren't many windows, there's a secondary sort of window wall that would be an exterior wall for the most part. So it's keeping out the elements, but it's letting light in. And so certain times of the day that sliding door would be open, you'd be viewing that secondary wall. So that's sort of one of the design concerns. And then everything else is pretty straightforward as far as, you know, new windows or reconditioning the existing windows and cleaning up the back and getting the structure out of the ground a little bit and repairing it as best we can, preserving it as best we can.
Are any of the windows salvageable, do you think?
I don't know, I think they may be. It depends on how far gone they are. I think the one on the side that's been boarded up can be saved, I hope. Some of the back ones, it's just too tough to tell if we can get someone in there and give it the effort it needs. But hopefully the one on the side that's mostly visible, that would be great if we could save that.
Questions from the commission?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep.
On the north elevation, they want to put in a new door in the back.
Yeah.
Any reason for that?
It's just like sort of a secondary way to get in and out without having to open the large rolling door. It's just a little bit cumbersome, so day to day, the door would be, the main closed, would remain closed, and you just go in that way. That would be
Okay.
the way in.
That's the end of the building, away from the correct?
Exactly.
So the plan is to take stock of the windows and see if they can be repaired.
Yep.
Good question. The new Brosco,
The new door?
the new window by Brosco and existing openings on the south elevation.
Yeah.
That's on 8203. The existing windows are single
That's-
pane.
That's the window, okay, that's confusing. That's the window I want to repair and preserve. That's the one that's presently boarded over.
Okay.
So
You don't want to put a new window in there.
we may have to, but I'd rather not at this point, so that note is misleading. I want that refurbished existing window note to continue down and include the window below it.
So in other words.
We want to refurbish. We want to find out if all the windows can be reclaimed and fixed and brought back to life. And if they can't, then we'll do the next best thing, which is the Brosco True Divided Light.
So possibly, how many windows are you gonna try to refurbish? One,
1, 2, 3.
three?
Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 6. 6 double hung windows, and then there's a couple of the smaller decorative windows.
So possibly what could happen then is you might find one that you can't repair, but you use the glass and repair
Exactly.
another one. So
Yes,
you may
that-
end up having. That's the
Right,
game
and
plan.
maybe 2 of the back windows become one of this one side window with the float glass.
And then the back ones would be new, but
Yeah.
they're not visible.
And they're not visible. They just aren't.
Okay,
Yeah, that would be a
so
great.
that's the game plan.
Yeah, that's the game plan.
And the two little squares on the front, were those windows?
They're painted over now. I think they were. I don't know. It was a horse barn. I'm not sure exactly the function of what those windows did for the horses, but that's what the horse stall is, or was.
Would you put glass on them? Did you say those? These little guys here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know whether they were windows.
I think they were.
Horses, yeah.
Yeah. Or they would open, maybe no glass at some point.
So you just leave them as is?
I guess that's
Right
the idea.
now.
Yeah.
Do you have to do any refurbishing of the sliding door? it looks like maybe that's not in such great shape, particularly at the bottom.
It's still. It all needs everything. Everywhere your eye falls needs a little bit of love.
That door is amazing.
It's amazing. It's beautiful, and it rolls so well. And it used to go the other way when the barn was smaller. It went over those two small windows we just talked about. It's a beautiful building.
Would you paint the interior door black to match, or would you leave it natural?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would.
Trim color is what? Is it? It's white.
White.
Yeah.
With the black windows, but I would paint that black.
And the windows, the new windows will be what? What do you think the sash? What do you think that would be?
Color-wise?
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah. So that all interior would be. The clapboards would be.
White.
Yeah.
And the window black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's an elegant solution to winterize this to to get it more so it's a working space, and the object here is to have heat. So you're out there in the winter and maybe be out there in the summertime, open it up or have some AC or something in there. But it's I think it's a good solution to get this more functional, because otherwise it's just if you leave it's just cold.
It's just
yeah. And you replace the floor in the interior, or else do a slab or something like that.
Yeah, we're proposing new structure from the inside with a wide pine floor.
Wide pine floor.
To
Okay.
bring that back. Yeah.
So you don't.
All new?
New install, but old material.
Do you think the foundation is in good shape? Or
It's not bad. It's
so you think you can work with what you have there? You don't have to raise it.
No,
lift it up.
It's the perimeter still's in great shape considering. So that's good. We're going to pinch that. And we're going to recreate a new beam line down the center with footings.
Mm-hmm.
But the exterior sill and foundation system is pretty good considering.
That's great.
You know old bonds.
Yeah.
You know what you get. This one has some surprisingly good aspects to it. So.
I think it's terrific. I think you can bring this back. It'll be a real showpiece.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, those two front windows that Lois was talking about, I was unclear. Did you say you were going to remove the painted glass or take the paint off the glass?
It's not glass. I think it's like a panel.
Oh, it is a panel. Okay,
yeah,
I
but we can
misunderstood.
put glass in.
I
or,
misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah, but it's painted over.
So I think what we can do is, with all the windows that are detailed in the plans that are existing, we'll specify to refurbish. If there's a change, just let us know.
Yep.
Okay. And the door is going to be wood, obviously, on the new door.
Yep.
It'll be wood on the other side.
Did you say that most of the time the sliding door was going to cover this opening? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that would be how it would look.
When the door is closed, do you think the main access will be through one of the side doors? Do you think
That side door.
You think that's how it'll work?
That's how it would work. But
So-
then even with that one new window, it's still dark in there. It's
Yeah.
just a dark space. There's not much daylight. So
Right.
the idea is to open that door to let light in, so it's just brighter.
So it may be open quite a bit.
It may be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so I'm designing it as if it were always open.
Right.
So I'm trying to be thoughtful. So it's a unique situation because
I don't think it's going to be shut much. That's just my view. I think once you have this and you have the light coming in there, I think it's going to be open a lot. Would be my view.
that could be. It may work better that way, and that may become the main entrance.
Could.
Are those true divided light windows as
Yes.
well?
Yeah, the idea is to in a sort of a unique situation, but to keep it all in the character and the style that's existing.
Well, this is an example of preservation reflecting discretion being the better part of valor.
Well said. Any other thoughts, questions?
Let me ask a question about A201, which is the elevation facing. On the right-hand side, we see, is that a stop for the doors?
Whereabouts?
On the right-hand side,
A201?
A201, is that a stop that basically prevents the sliding glass door from going further? It appears from the photograph that that's what it is.
On the right side or left side?
Right side. That right there.
Well, that is the stop, exactly.
That's what I'm talking about.
But, yeah, that, okay. You are correct, sir. But that will just stay, we're not, that's all,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, the door is beautiful, it works quite well too.
So now on A201, where it shows the two windows and the door,
Yep.
that's actually recessed by
It's 3 feet in.
so that when that door slides over, all you see is the door.
Yep.
So this shows the door open.
Yep.
Any thoughts, questions?
Have you given any thought in that alcove, rather than using clapboards, to use panels?
Use what?
Use panels in lieu of clapboards.
I kicked around a lot of ideas and it seemed that clapboard was the most in keeping with what the barn was offering.
Okay.
But I'm open.
Another hidden plan over there that you want to show?
I don't have one. That seemed to work quite well though. Should try that more often. But I think the clapboards, it's less is more. I think just to kind of not introduce a new system, just try to keep it visually clean. That was the idea.
Lois, what do you think about a motion on this?
Oh, I'd be glad to.
Awesome, thank you.
I would like to make a motion for 613 Main Street for the renovation of an existing barn to repair and restore or, if need be, replace windows, add exterior door north facing, and provide interior wall behind rolling barn doors. According to plans dated June 20th, 2016, site plan, SC, A101, A201, A202, and A203. Correction being on A203 that a new window by Brosco will be a refurbished window, single pane, true divided light. All windows to be refurbished to the best of the architect's ability.
I think, if I understood Hans correctly, that we'll put the repair and restore the windows, and then if something else needs to be done, then Al will let us know.
Keep us posted on that one. The interior wall. You'll have a wooden door painted black and clapboards to match. Windows to be true divided light wood.
Painted black.
Yes.
What I missed.
Anything else we, good? Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have 135 South Street. Hi.
Hi, Mary Ellen, how are you?
Thank you for coming in.
What's wrong with this?
Mary Ellen currently resides at 135 South Street, and she would like to install a flagpole on the side yard. And she's provided us with a lot of documentation about the height, flag size, height of the flagpole relative to the house. And as I understand it, this flagpole is going to have a center flag and two flags to the left and right, like a ship.
Right.
Take it away. Thank you.
So we just moved into 135 South at the beginning of January. We're renting it. We have a 2-year lease. This flagpole we have brought to our last 2 houses. We're attached to it, so we would like to put it up. We think it will add to the property.
Where were you before?
We were on Downer Ave, on the corner of Downer and Otis.
And stood on Downer?
Yep, it was right out front. Lots of commentary from the neighbors. They loved it. And prior to that, we lived on Foley Beach Road. And it was right in the front of the house there too.
I was talking with Andrea a little bit about flagpole history to see what this commission has reviewed in the past, and we haven't really looked at flagpoles, although we do, but we haven't reviewed any recently.
Right.
And I do know that there is a flagpole like you have on 240 Main Street, top of as you go up the hill out of town.
Okay.
On the left-hand side, it's a gray house, and they've got a circular driveway.
Yes, right there on the left.
Yeah, and it's same type of flagpole. So I do know that these flagpoles are in the historic district. I don't think we approved that one. Maybe it was put in before the commission came around. Maybe been there for years. It's been there as long as I can remember. But so there is precedent for having something.
Yeah, we were kind of looking up and down the street to see if there were other flagpoles. There is one in the yard across the street. It's slightly different. It doesn't have the yard arm. But there aren't a lot of flagpoles on that end of town, I don't think.
Questions?
I have a question. So I think you to a certain extent just answered my question, but any reason why you're not using a red cedar wooden flagpole? Or is this an aluminum?
It's just because this is the flagpole that we've had. I mean, I think if we were looking to buy a flagpole and install it, we probably would look at something different. But this was a very, very expensive flagpole when we bought it. So that's the reason we're not looking to just buy a new one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
looking at the property and the possible placement of the flagpole, I think, I wasn't moved to say, oh, well, that's a great fit, but, in terms of where you wanna put it. But at the same time, it's movable. And therefore, that influences me in terms of thinking how squirrely to be about where to put a flagpole, you know.
I mean,
Because that obviously has sentimental value to you.
right, and we sort of picked the location to put it just sort of based on, you know, where it would make them look aesthetically, what we thought would
Not
be
a
the
lot
best.
of possibilities
There's
there.
not a lot of room there. The yard is really overgrown, sort of as you go
Yeah.
towards the back, which is something we haven't dealt with yet. So we were just kind of trying to find a place that made the most sense, that didn't have, you know, lower trees or anything that would sort of be in the way.
Now that's condo, that's condo,
It is, it's two condos.
it's two condos, are you the left or the right?
We're on the right, on the driveway side.
Okay, and the other condo person,
There's nobody in the other side.
okay,
It's
so
empty. So,
wait for the next guy to have a comment.
right, and, you know, there is a possibility that we will buy this condo when our lease is up. It's a little too soon to tell, you know, we haven't been there that long, so.
How are you gonna anchor the flagpole? Cause you took it with you, so I'm wondering what you put it in.
So basically my husband just digs a small hole in the ground. He's in the construction industry, and just, holds it in place with concrete. And then when you take it out, the sleeve just comes right out. with
So
it.
it's really a sleeve.
It's not a sleeve, I mean, it's, I don't say sleeve, when I mean sleeves, the concrete just stays attached to the pole. So when he pulls it out, it just comes out with it.
And what color is it? It's white?
It's white.
Okay.
Any other questions? Virginia, could you make a motion of the installation of the flagpole? You're the best.
I make a motion to install a flagpole in the yard to the right of the house at 135 South Street. The flagpole and its flags are as described in documents submitted. They aren't dated. Shall I date them today?
No, you can just say, as shown in documents submitted with the application.
As shown in documents submitted at the application.
Second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Appreciate your coming in.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I'm gonna recuse myself
Okay.
for,
All right.
next one.
Have a wonderful trip.
Thank you, I'm gonna go home and start packing. Can you, and I saw one on there, and I found it, but I was running around like, all over.
See ya.
Bye, Thomas.
You do. Right.
I mean, I'm not really anyway.
It's just a permanent emergency. Maybe you dispose them at one. Okay, yes, disclosure.
I work with Sean, I'm not gonna comment.
Okay.
Voting anyway, but.
Okay, all right. All right. Last but not least, we have 66 School Street. Continued from December 8th, last year. Yeah, so that should work for this video over here. Yeah, that should work fine, Sean. So let's maybe just kind of give a quick refresher of where we are. Last time we got together was back in December, and there was a lot of discussion about legal aspects of this application, and Richard Henderson brought to our attention that there was some issues when the maps had been filed with the registry, and since then the maps have been filed, and we left it where we were going to get town council to weigh in on this. So we did that. Those documents have been sent around to everyone, so we all have a copy of those. And given where the situation was, where Matt, the applicant, stood in terms of the project and some of the comments from the commission, I thought it would be a good idea to get together just to start a discussion about kind of where we stood, what each side was looking for, and see if we could find some middle ground. So I would characterize, we had two meetings, I would characterize them as productive meetings, and what Matt came back with the help of Richard and Sally, was a new plan that is it's a CAPE, and I'm sure they're going to talk about it, which I think reflects a little bit more than the Gambrell did on what's existing on the property. So there's some similarities with the facade and the streetscape aspect of it, which was a primary concern with the commission. So I guess what I'd like to do here is, we spent a lot of time talking about the historical aspect of the house, and we were going to have just a vote on that, on whether the house should be demolished or not. And I think the best approach at this point, given the new submission here with some new plans, would be for the commission to just evaluate this project as a whole. Consider the demolition, consider this new design. If there are some, when we do come around to a vote, if we get there tonight, if you have issues with the demolition of the house, that should definitely be reflected in your vote, in your view. If in that case, it might be a no. If you think this is a good plan to go ahead with, and there's some compromises here, and it might work in terms of the streetscape and the design, and tipping its hat, if you will, to the existing house, then maybe you want to vote favorably for the application. But let's see if we can listen to the application and the new plans from the applicant, and just kind of hit the reset button a little bit on this and see where we come out. So that's kind of the approach, that overview.
however you want to proceed, that I think would be the best use of time.
Just, again, I'm Richard Anderson, and Matt is to my right, Matt Falconer, the applicant, Sally Weston is architect to my left, and Sean Papich, the landscape architect, to my far right. The very first or second meeting, we presented the structural engineering report, which indicated this was not a safe house to renovate or to build upon. I reflected on that, talked to other people about it, and I am absolutely convinced beyond any doubt that the structural engineer's report is correct, that if something's to be done here, it's not to be done on the facade or the foundation of that structure, and nobody wants the liability to do it. It just doesn't, it's not structurally sound enough to be used for anything. So to that end, we understood that the gamble was not acceptable, or did not appear to be acceptable. So the focus was, once we realized that demolition was probably going to be the only solution for us, we went to the Cape alternative. I think we've considered every comment that's been made over the hearing process, from every minor detail, lighting, hardscape, windows, doors, and so I think what I do is have Sally go over the new plan and then address any questions that you have about any aspect of the plan or any other part of our presentation over the last several months. Do you want to?
Is that good?
In your packet, you have a foundation plan. I did not put the regular floor plans. I didn't know if they were really this way. But, again, we're now proposing a cape. And I brought the book, Little House, Big House, Back House, Barn, that we are connecting these sort of units of the building. This is the main building, and then you have a wing and a smaller wing, and then the barn. I know that when you spoke to Matt and Richard, details were really important. So I think you have this in your packet too, but that the cape would be, with the shed dormer on the front. It's a 45-degree roof pitch, which is very typical. Inside the packet that we gave you, we've given you all the eave details that will happen on the house, and we've tried to show photographic examples of, historic houses, not new houses, but historic houses. So, eaves on the second floor would not have gutter; they would be crown molding. The eave on the lower level, on the first floor, would have gutter, and the gutter turns back around itself. That's a very typical detail on an old cape like this. Basically what this is a half a cape. You see them around. I think another question was asked is about the front entry. So we've tried to put a blow up of the front entry detail with pilasters and things, which are very typical, with the side lights and some little transoms above. Like I say, it's a very, the details are very classic. We tend to look at old examples and look at old books when we do our detailing, to make it look like it was always there, not something new. So if you look, we have the front elevation and the side elevation, which is A2.2. So this is the front. So again, you see the cape. It's 28 feet wide, which is actually slightly shorter, less wide than the existing, with the bay on the side, the link. The house is 28 feet 3 inches high. I know the house next door we think is about 32 feet high, and the cape next door we think is about 24 feet high, so there are a progression of 4-foot difference. Barn, again, we have these kind of eave details, shutters, correct shutter sizes with shuttered hangers and shutter holdbacks. Again, the bay, the house there's another house on School Street. I know you've approved it, the McCulloughs, very similar, has another little bay almost exactly like this one. We had already designed it, but happened to be driving by and realized it was very similar. Again, side elevation, with the same turn-back eaves, and the barn with little barn windows. And then we have the left elevation. These are the three elevations that you would see. So again, cape shape with the wing in the back. We've called out what the garage doors are. They're very simple, more barn-esque doors. They don't have glass in them. They're truly more like a barn would be. We've also, in this packet, along with the front door detail, again, we have on 8.3.2, we have all the eave details and exactly how those details will be built and how they will look. One for the first floor eave, one for the second floor eave. On 8.3.4, we've tried to take pictures of examples. You know, these houses are a little older and they're a little worn, but you can see that sort of turn back detail. The one in the right side is actually one on School Street, which I think is a really nice example of a turn back corner of the gutter, and then the rake detail is crown. It's actually been changed now, and I think for gutter, which isn't actually the correct way to do it. But we've also got pictures of true shutters with the, classic shutter should be half the size of the rough opening and held back with shutter hangers. Some people use S-tie backs and some people just use shutter hooks, shutters, they sort of snap. In the packet, A3.6 is a photograph of a similar garage door detail, barn door, if you will. The front door, I know there was a question about doors. The doors would be a wood doors on the front door, and the mudroom door, which you don't see from here. But the front door is a 4-panel, and the door on the mudroom is either a 12 or 15 panel. Lights on the front of the house would be standard onion lights that everybody is used to seeing. Clapper, simulated divided wood simulated divided light windows, typically 6/6 throughout the house. There are a couple little square windows, which you see on a lot of capes, and this is a little window under the stair. That was all we could fit. So, again, we feel it's proportioned to the neighborhood. Again, we've reduced the width of it, so we thought that was nice, trying to bring it a little bit farther away from the neighbor on the left side. I actually have I grabbed that rule. If you don't remember to check that. I have an assessor's map I can pass around, and then actually pictures of all the neighborhood houses. But again, by moving this over just a little bit, it gives the neighbor a little bit extra space. And red cedar shingle roof, which is a nice thing to do. I don't know if anybody wants to see this, but these are all the houses on the street. Might help to, they're all, some of them are quite large and go back very, very similar to this. Any other questions I can answer?
Thanks, Sean, you want to talk? Sure, yeah.
You should have a copy of this plan also in your packet. What we were intending to do with the hardscape elements, that's what we're coming to you for. Bigger move is taking the existing driveway. If you look at photos we have in the packet, existing driveway comes right up near the corner of the house. So it comes in kind of at the house and then swings over. And what we were proposing to do was to come onto the right-hand side of this tree that you see pictured here. It's also this one here. And bring the driveway in from this side and back into the carriage house, the barn. Opening up a little more lawn space in the yard itself, so it's not dividing it off. Septic system is over here also, and it can be driven on. For the entry, we want to capture the columns that were going to be on the sides of the doors, the main entry door, and have a brick landing with granite steps and accents. Was our intent. You drop down to a landing that would be the same, and then a brick walkway straight out front. So classic brick walkway straight to the door, much like you see here on this project on Middle Street. Granite stepping stones come into the driveway, and then more brick and granite as you're landing going into the mudroom. So using classic materials. You see antique granite and typically at City Hall paver brick or something fairly similar to that. That's really the bulk of the hardscape elements there. The driveway would be proposed to be asphalt. Talked about doing a little granite threshold stone out here, but it'll be flush. Something similar to this, but not as steps. It has to be flush. Good, thank you.
Richard, Matt, any other comments?
I think they covered it.
Okay. All right. Given that there's nobody from the audience here, open it up for discussion. What does the commission think about this new set of plans here? And you may want to comment on them relative to the original set with the gambrel that we have. We had.
If I could start with my comments, I think looking at the existing structure, I think what is most contributing about that is its modesty and its scale and the streetscape. It's a little different from some of the other houses that are around there. So I think in something that replaces that, and I'm okay with replacing that, is that it should reflect some of that modesty. And I think this project starts to do that. I think the front part of the cape and maybe the little part that comes behind it kind of contributes to that modesty. But once it gets further back, extends further back towards the property, and the scale of that barn starts to detract, I think, from that modesty. I don't think I would be opposed to a barn-type structure, but I think generally the scale of it starts to overpower the modesty of that sort of that front part of the cape. And if there are a way to sort of pull the back and start to kind of condense that a little bit, I think this would be a real nice project, and I think contribute similarly to that streetscape as that existing house does.
Yes. I like capes. Couple things just jumped out at me when I looked at the picture. The front door looks like a loft for a small cape, and it is a half cape. And on A 3.4, you have a picture of a house. 4, 0, 4, 5. And that's the kind of door in the picture, a very small cape.
I'm gonna send this around. This is a 1700s cape in Duxbury. It has almost the identical
But
detail.
that's my point. Just like we continue, my point dovetails from what Mike was saying, because the original house was very nice. And I realized that, first of all, if you kept that, you'd be gutting the whole inside anyway. And the picture roof is almost impossible. That was really worth it. The only thing I could see building was one more branch. So, I think like toning the door down a little bit would bring it back to the modest part that I would be looking for. And the other part that jumped out at me is the connector to the garage. It just seems like it's a lot of mass connecting to the garage. And I agree with Mike that the garage, is starting to overpower with that connector on it. And maybe the possibility of having a single level connector instead of a two-story connector. Although a freestanding garage would be the perfect solution. Those would be the two things that I would be concerned with.
Sure. I find this to be far more appealing than what we saw before. And I don't think I would have a problem with this replacing the existing house in the lot, because I think it's more in scale with the streetscape of this particular neighborhood. I too have a problem with that front entry, because I think it's the width of it that tends to overpower. I think if it were pulled in some and the side lights were not as wide, I think I would have no problem with that, even with side lights and transom. I too think that the second story connector to the barn is an issue. I think it causes problems with regard to the massing at the rear of the lot, and it starts to basically detract from what's proposed as this half cape at the front. I think it's a great improvement.
I think it's a great improvement as well. I like it a lot better than I did with Gambrel. I agree that reducing the size of the connector would go a long way to setting off the barn as a separate structure. I think that would look a lot better. As you know, I wasn't as attached to the original structure as other people on the commission were, so when I look at this, I compare it to what else is on the street, and I think this fits in very well with the streetscape.
Thank you.
Virginia?
Well, I think the intent to have this design be more reflective of the original house is important. And I appreciate the work that's been done to do details and reflect and so forth. I think that's really a notable compromise. For me, however, I go back more to the intent of a historic districts commission, of a district rather, which is to preserve houses. And I think demolishing the existing house, as modest, as simplistic as it is, doesn't meet the aim of the district. You know, when the district was established, and I have no understanding of that history, but somebody decided this was a contributing structure. Whether that was an error or not, it had been decided it was a contributing structure. And I don't think it's for us to decide that this house is not a contributing structure and therefore worthy of demolition. I think whether the house is structurally adequate or not, I think that has been a difference of opinion from some of the data that we have heard. It was certainly structurally adequate enough for somebody to live in it for a number of years. I do think this house is somewhat emblematic of some houses in Hingham that were half houses. There's a history of half houses in Hingham that could be added on to. Many have been added on to. So for me, the issue is I cannot support the demolition of this house, however adequate the design of the new house is.
Okay. Kate, any thoughts on the plans?
I like it. I think it fits in with the streetscape. I think if you didn't have the second story on this connector, it could almost look like an original historic house. I like it.
Okay. When we got together about a month ago, I presented some ideas that the map may want to consider. First was just kind of keeping the house as is, restoring it. And I gave him another example down on South Street. There's a Cape Ranch. It's 123 South Street. But kind of showing what could be done with it. There was another example on High Street of kind of what you're talking about with having a cape and then adding on single stories in block fashion to the back. And there's even another house on Main Street. I forget the address. I think it's the old general store and post office. It's 648, I think, is the number. But there was an attempt. And if you look at the house, it's got a similar roof line, but they try to put a second story on the back. I don't think it works great, but there was an attempt to kind of join a house like this with a second story. So, I've been mulling a lot of this over, and I think this is a good compromise, and if some adjustments can be made to it, I think it could work. I think the commission's giving you some good feedback on this connector, and if you could somehow get a first floor, maybe there's an internal stairwell going in the garage or something going up to the second floor. I don't know if that's an option for you, but that might work. Questions I had were related to square footage. Do you know roughly what the square footage of the structure will be in total?
4,500.
4,500. Okay. So I know the original house is close to 1,000, so it's it's a pretty good step up in terms of the massing and the scale. I know that there are some the other homes in the street that are towards the upper end of that, but maybe taking that connector out will take away some of the scale. Sally, on A2.2, it looks like the ridge height of the garage is higher than the house. Is that just
No, we have it on A2.1, all the dimensions are there. The house is 28'3", the garage is 27'3", and the connector is 24.
so is it just the two-dimensional that looks taller on A2.2?
Yeah, I mean, we put all the dimensions on that first elevation.
You see what I'm looking at? It just looks like it's
Yeah, I
taller.
think maybe the line, it shouldn't be.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
All right. Yeah, the other drawings, you delineate what the height is between the two. The other question I had was I had similar comments related to the front door. If there was a way to maybe take out some of the lights there, maybe if it's just three on either side, just simplifying a little bit so it's a little bit of a simpler design, kind of referring back to the original house. I noticed the bulkhead. I know you're intending to cover it up with some shrubs, but if there's a way to get the bulkhead in the rear of the house, a minor thing, if there's room to do that instead of up front.
I don't think you'll ever see it though. I mean, there could be fencing or.
Just a minor comment. What are your thoughts in terms of some of the things the commission has said here that might be workable, amenable to you?
I think that the one that keeps coming up is the connector, and I think it's going to be a struggle for us to achieve our goals and making that second floor contiguous with the main home. We're on a narrow lot, so basically, current garages that we build are 22 to 24 feet. If we go with a stair internal to the garage, then we need to gain that space, and that's only gonna throw mass out of whack even further. This plan, the way it shows on paper, is challenging because you're seeing one plane. That's approaching 50 feet behind the front wall of the house, so I think that's important, and that was the intent and goal of the sketch on the first sheet. Looking at the connector on the summary sheet versus the connector on the plan view, or elevation view rather, it shows entirely different.
Which page are you
So
Cover page.
Look at the cover sheet, and even the next rendering on sheet SK 1.1 versus the elevation view on A 2.1. It just, this is intended for building purposes for us to build from, but to really get a good vision of what the streetscape is, and of scale and proportion, I think that the rendering really depicts that.
Well, and A 2.2 shows how far back the barn really is. I mean, we certainly can lower the roof of the connector by, probably a foot or a couple feet, maybe, make that shallower. So it will look like a smaller link.
Can you drop the height of the barn too? Same time, kind of squish it all down a little
We
bit.
can, but I will have you look at this book, and usually the barn is bigger than the house typically. I mean, in most instances it is. So, we can certainly drop it down, and but what's going to happen then is that link. If we drop the link down and then we drop the barn down, it's almost better that the link drops, I think, and the barn stays up. So, you typically look at most of these houses, even on Main Street, and the barns are pretty good size compared to the houses. So we might be, I'm just thinking from an architectural standpoint, it might be better to lower that link and leave the...
I think what might be helpful in this instance is a physical model that we can look at and turn around and sort of get a sense of that massing, not only the link, but the barn against the main house.
And you can't see it from the drawings, from the elevations?
I can see it from the elevations, but it would be more helpful to have a physical model to look at. I think it would also help the commission to be able to view that, and it may be in a more positive light than what people can view in the drawing right now.
So I know it's a new board, but Andrea, I don't know if you remember, when we did mine, we struggled with that. We went round and round, and mine's a similar, I live across the street from this, and similar situation where my garage is set back, and it bothered me on paper, seeing my garage tall. I have a farmhouse gable facing the street, and it was taller, and it bothered me on paper. And when it came to life, the way that it was set back, it's far nicer.
Jeff, what do you think about visualization here with a model or?
I think models are always useful because they're three-dimensional and you can turn them and look at them from many angles. And I think for those people that don't really read drawings, as well as those who've been trained in it, it's very helpful. I hear what you're saying about the height of the garage, and I do agree that once you start lowering the garage, you really start to cause problems with the connector. Of the options, it seems to me dropping, if you're going to have a second floor, and we haven't seen a plan of the second floor, so frankly, we're somewhat at a disadvantage. I think that's the place to go, but I would like to see plans of the second floor.
Actually, I have the plan, and it has not changed
last time, it's like the cave shape, so. So the second floor is basically 2 bedrooms in the cape and the, typical stair coming up the side. And then we have, bathroom, the master's in the back. And then we just have this bonus room over the garage.
What's occurring in the connector on the second floor between the master bedroom and the space at the second floor of the garage?
Some linen, a linen closet, and another bathroom.
Okay.
And a stairwell.
And a stairwell, yeah, to get to the back of the house, so. But like I say, this whole area, this could get lowered if we wanted to. That roof could get, the pitch could get much shallower, so it would really, kind of,
And there's
less.
nothing magic about keeping the same pitch as anything else.
Pardon?
There's nothing magic about keeping the same pitch as any other
Right.
element.
We're doing Red Sea, there's a bit.
You have to be a little careful,
Yeah,
you don't
just-
want it to be too shallow or.
Right.
The Cedar Bureau won't recommend anything probably below a 4.5 or 5.
This is a pretty, this isn't very deep though, so we could probably lower that a little bit, certainly. Maybe even, I don't know, lower the eave a little bit,
Lower the eave,
We were just trying to-
smaller windows.
We were just trying to line it up, so that,
But in a perspective, or in reality, you're not gonna know where the windows and the connector line up with the other part of the house, let's be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
we were just trying to make the eave, well, you can't see it here because this is, but that eave turns the corner, all kind of wraps together, but this certainly could get lowered and,
Smaller, shorter window.
shorter windows and this could
Right.
get shallower too.
I'd be fine.
Chuck, you like to see a model with that?
I would prefer to see a model, I think it's easier to
Okay. Okay.
flush out all the elements.
Sally and Matt, do you have any ideas of the front door? What you could do to simplify that a little bit, to make it a little bit more reflective of what was there before,
Well, I think if
other than the aluminum door and plastic shutters?
Yeah. And the replacement windows and the
Yeah.
plastic paneling and stuff. Well, I think somebody brought up of just having 3 lights, so just something narrower, again, a little bit more like that, the picture that I sent around. Pilasters are a pretty typical detail on a lot of these capes, so if you're, a 4-panel door with 3 lights above and a panel below, but it would just be narrower.
Any thoughts about the lights above the door? Strong view.
I have no problems with lights above the door, it's a transit,
Transit.
typical of the Cape.
Okay. Yep. Any comments on the landscaping plan for Sean?
Sean, what are you bordering both the stretcher part of the sidewalk and the herringbone? Is there like stretchers around that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a linear course, we just kind of call it a narrow linear band.
Okay,
Because when it's on the horizontal, we don't tend to use the terminology of the soldier or the sailor course as
Right,
much.
But
Just
it
to
is
not
brick.
confuse anybody. It is brick, yeah.
Okay.
We wouldn't put granite around that edge, we think that's pushing a little bit, we still like the purity of, brick. And the rest of this is all granite, and you would have a granite infill piece on the side of the porch, essentially, side of the front.
Now, you changed to wood at the back.
Yeah. It was wood for the porch itself, and then a granite step stepping off of it, coming in, it'd be about 6 foot wide granite step.
Any other thoughts on the hardscape?
Chuck, I'd be open to either. On that mudroom stoop, brick or wood,
Whatever.
It doesn't matter to me, as
Okay.
long as it works out as far as the detail.
okay.
Let me ask the architects primarily that are asking for a model. Would it be premature to go ahead with demo and putting in a foundation here before seeing the model? Or are you comfortable with the footprint of this house and what the massing could be as a result of it?
No.
Chuck?
I'd rather see everything
Okay.
before we grant a demo permit.
Okay.
I think it's on the right track, honestly, I think it's getting there, but I think it's, until we see the final product that we can all agree on, I couldn't support demoing that house
Okay.
until that's.
Actually, we can't anyway. The building
It's not
inspector
kind of-
doesn't allow us to do a demo permit without the building drawings, the permit drawings in, actually, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
I just wanna thank you for all the details, I really appreciate it. Well done.
Matt, Sean, Richard, Sally, anything we didn't state or you have questions still about or you have concerns about?
No, except that if we're going to do this model, it seems that we need to focus on adjustments to the door and to the connector.
I believe so.
If that's what you really want us to.
You're right.
Okay.
There might be a challenge, a question might be just nailing down what this model is, because model is
Yes.
a very loose thing, because you
Right.
can spend enormous amounts of time on
You're talking
Either
about
way.
just a very, massing model.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
chipboard
Chipboard.
massing model and glue the elevation.
scale. What scale do you want to see it at? Because that's pretty big. 8th scale is probably.
What's that on the drawing, is that quarter?
8th scale.
That's
This
eighth.
is,
Oh, that's
this is
quarter,
quarter.
yeah.
8th is probably fine, yeah, 8th.
8th is about what you have in your hands on those
Yeah.
drawings.
That's the foundation plan actually that we have in our hands, that's in scale.
Yeah.
Maybe it's reduced.
No, that's actually to scale,
Is this-
8th scale.
This is
yeah.
to scale. I think that's enough.
I think we made some good headway tonight. I know we didn't get all the way there, but I think we made, given relative to where we were a couple months ago. I hope you're in a better spot, and hopefully next meeting we can kind of get to where we all want to be. So I guess that's the message, and hopefully that's amenable to you and.
My only concern is I'm not here on the 16th of March, which is your next scheduled meeting. Right,
Okay.
I don't know what I shouldn't presume, I assume that's your next scheduled meeting.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, your call. How you wanna proceed? We can. What's the schedule like for the 16th at this point?
It's fine.
Yeah.
And are we bringing this model in early so people can look at it before the meeting, or what would you prefer?
I think you just bring it into the meeting, would be fine.
Would anyone be willing to meet earlier just for this particular project?
A different date?
Only because Mr. Henderson.
If I could change it, I would, I can't.
Yeah, we could certainly do that.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm okay with it.
Are we talking about 2 weeks before, 1 week before?
I was thinking the 9th or the 10th.
What
Whatever,
day?
I don't know what,
Oh, the 7th.
what the 7th? 7th?
I can't do the 7th, I know that.
The 2nd is a
Thursday, 7th is what, a Tuesday? Is that okay?
The 3rd is a Thursday, I believe.
It's 2 weeks from tonight, right?
Yes.
Third is Friday.
It's a Friday.
Second is
No, 3rd
First
Friday.
is a Wednesday.
Okay.
The second
makes
is a
sense.
Thursday?
Second is a Thursday.
Right.
Does that work for,
I'd have to change some things, but I'd be willing to do that.
What about
Yeah, I'm a
Wednesday?
little iffy on that.
when's,
7th, is that 14th?
another night? Mike,
To
Yeah,
this?
let me see.
Sure.
we can work this out.
Yeah, that week.
Wednesday the 1st.
The first, maybe, can we do it the first? Wednesday?
At what time?
6:30?
Dennis, does that work for you?
We're talking about the 1st of March?
Yes.
First. Yep, that works for me.
John?
Can we do this?
Yeah.
Lois?
Think so.
Okay. Virginia's iffy.
Yeah, I don't think I can do the first.
Okay.
We'll get it, we'll
Mike
get
is
it,
good and
we'll get a
She's not
quorum here.
okay.
First at 6:30 then?
Yes.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
taking some, thank you.
Thanks for coming in, you guys.
Thank you.
If you do, I'll let you know. I have to look in the bring the file with me. So I think the extension is good till April.
Is it?
I think so. I'll call you.
Call me in the morning, I'm around.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
This is the back of the.
See you, Sean.
Thank you.
Did you leave something there that you need? On the table, I can't see it.
Yeah.
Andrew, do we have any other business to,
Yes, we do.
before I close?
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
Okay.
In your packets, you will see a sheet that is an ethics,
The summary.
oh yeah, the summary of the conflict of interest law. On the last page, good night.
Good night.
On the last page is a sign, you have to sign it. So could you fill it out and leave it with me now, since you are captive here at this moment? I already got, Thomas's. And then I have one other thing for you to look at.
58 Main Street.
No, I don't know why that was in there. Kate had that too. There's nothing to do with 58 Main Street.
Minutes of the 27th of June.
That was probably left in there from a long time ago. So, I'm going to pass around a picture of a garage that, 682 Main Street, Mr. and Mrs. Pelletier would like to build.
Of course.
So, Mrs. Pelletier is asking, she would like to know if the enclosed garage would be acceptable to the commission.
There's no garage on the property now.
There is a one car right now.
Don't we have to see it in relation to the
Yeah.
house?
In context would be.
Well, you know, I think she's wants to know that might be a possibility. She's not asking for an approval, she's just wanting some feedback.
What's the roof on the main house? Is it the same? I'm trying to. Is it cape? Is it cape with a?
It's a cape.
So it's the same roof. It's
Yeah,
that and
kinda.
that again.
Yep.
It might be better with a gable. I don't know. We have to see it again to
Oh, this
the
you
whole
have
property.
to read.
Yeah. Doesn't look long enough.
I mean, we got to see the house, and I'm trying to picture. I think it might be just.
I think context is important, given how that house has evolved.
That's true.
I think so.
Okay, so I'll tell her that we just need a little more information. So if she wants to apply, because I don't know whether that means tearing down the existing
Yeah,
little garage.
Sure.
Probably does.
sure. Okay.
All right. And I think that's all I have. Oh, except I want to hand out these minutes, and I'm gonna send you some more, so that you can read them. In the next meeting, we can read them. And I'll call it. So we can pass these down. And I have another set. This is the second set. Yep. Yeah, wait a minute. You need the 15th of September and the 20th of,
15th. This is 20s, I think, and those were 15s.
Yep.
I have an extra 15.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then, you can read them before the next meeting and vote on them then. And in the interim, I will send you the remaining. There were 2 meetings in December
Yep.
and, then our January meeting. So then we're all caught up.
Okay. So we'll vote on those at the
March meeting,
March meeting. Okay.
please.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. I'd like to close the Historic Districts Commission meeting for this evening. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming tonight.